In my pants. Chat, look, butthole's out. Where? Bro, I'm not paying out.
Check the DMs. Sending me. Oh my god, you're wearing the hoodie. That's my lucky hoodie.
Hey, what up, Angel? You are first. How you doing? What's good in the hood?
That looks cool.
I'm actually tired, but I should be okay. I took like a little half-hour nap. I think that fucked it up.
No, I'll probably have my penis on my
Rookie
head.
mistake.
Thanks for going off though. Fuck was on your side.
I'm logging into Steam.
Neither was skill.
Okay, let's.
It fucking sucked today. Who's live? We got Lil B Montana.
Hello. How you doing? Hello, Governor. I'm not missing the stream. Fuck yeah. First. Wait a minute. Somebody is flying here. Do some detective work and find out who's really first. How you doing, Jay? Welcome back. It's funny. I did take a nap during that hour. And I actually feel worse. They just send me some nudes and you can have first. Alright, let's get started. Everybody's here already. Yeah, I really shouldn't have taken the nap. I regret it. Cool. That's the right setting on the mic too. Woosah. Oh wait, can you guys hear the game? Audio. No, it's muted. Alright, now you can hear it. Should be able to. Oops. How does it get muted? Damn it. Resident Evil. I like how every game does that. Alright, maybe this game will wake me up. Did I do all this shit yet?
What can I interest you in?
I think I did. Tune up. Yeah. Yeah. I did.
Your weapons are in good hands.
That's what I want right there. But I gotta save up for it again. I could do this.
Might want to take care of any leftover.
I wanna shut the fuck up.
Going this way. Be
Do I have any healing items? Oh yeah, I'm good. I'm fine.
a shame to live the rest of your life.
What's everybody up to tonight?
What if?
Look at that. Alright. Sick.
All right.
Go this way. This game is like Evil Residence and you're renting out your house or something? What's it about? That's basically the gist of it. It's like squatters' rights, the video game. And I'm moving in and these guys are all here, so I have to clear them out, you know? Trying to gentrify Spain. Now, I did fuck up. Okay, I can make it. Don't fall, don't fall, don't fall, don't fall. It's gotta be done. Yeah, dude, it's gotta be. Also, congrats on finishing Code Veronica. I'm glad you liked it. It's quite good. I hear it. Oh, there's one. I'll come back for you. But there's another one over here. according to this map. Yeah, good game. Hell yeah. So next is a not good game. I hope you like it. I hope it's like maybe like a nothing. It's just like I don't know, but I fucking hated. I hated Survivor 2. But you know, the good thing is that it takes like, I don't know, like an hour or two to fucking be done with it, so at least there's that. Actually, I think it's like maybe under an hour because it's actually an arcade game. Going with low expectations. Lower and more. Guarantee they're not low enough. Ooh. Andy. Oh shit, I sold everything already. Oh, stop running! Stop running! I need to pick those up again. Shit. All right. All right, that's my fault. Okay. Don't press shift. Whatever you do. Well, I can press it now. I just hop over. Oh no! Oh, that's fucked up. That'll kill me. I see what you did, game. Very clever. There it is. All right, let's get the fuck on out of here. Hey, you got food. Okay. Now, cool. Just nice and easy. And then after Survivor 2 is what? Is that remake in 0? But you're skipping Gaiden. Kia. Think so. Yeah, I think so. Cool, cool, cool. That's good. You have like a 10 out of 10 coming up. That first remake is like perfect. Perfect. Down to the last minute detail. Bring me my Ashley back.
Ashley!
Such a fool.
She sounds like when Cindy's getting choked in the first Scary Movie. And she's like, I'll tap it to our grave. She sounded like a little bit. Are you playing this fucking game again? No, I'm playing this game. Well, I'm playing it again, but I'm streaming it for the first time. This is the remake. Also, welcome in, Ken. This is L remake of Resident Evil 4. Oh shit. Actually, I might die a couple times here. I remember this being a little tough. But also I played with controller. Now I have the superior mouse. Did you get chubbier? Probably a little bit. Thanks. Let's see. Fuck him up. Oh shit. Okay. Get back here, you freak! You freak! What's he doing? Oh shit, there's those. I forgot about those. Oh shit. The ground's wet. Ah! Oh shit, I forgot you could do that too. Oh shit, another one of those. Okay, I really gotta look out for those little goo bags. Oh shit. I see, I don't even know if I'm doing well or not. Dude, you get super fat, you stupid piece of shit. I don't know about super. I got a little extra. I'm building blubber for winter. Take this, you son of a bitch! Yeah! I think I'm still in the realm of average.
My disappointment.
Hey, what's up, Cash Cow?
Immeasurable.
How you
My
doing?
day is feeling.
That's my reaction too every time I eat Popeyes. Spelled D-A-W-G. I'm sweating my ball sack. Am I? Yeah, balls? They have the heater on, but I'm like in a fucking furnace. Why didn't you just egg them? Because I don't have the egg with me, ninja dog. Forgot to save it, bruh. Exposed? I don't get it. Take your clothes off, take a bunch of pics, and send them my way. Yes, Cash Cow, I see your message. I do. Why do you want to be one? Ah! Where are you? There he is. My boy. My boy. Sit fucking still. That was kind of cool, though. Get back here! Debate me, you coward! Yeah. Oh shit! No! 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 It will help you cool down. Yeah, it's for survival. It's old trick. Trick of the trade. Oh shit. Oh, thanks, bro. Did you see that Firebreak got an update? I don't have Firebreak. That's the control spin-off, right? Firebreak? Lip Rouge? What's a Lip Rouge? Is it like a Moulin Rouge? Rouge the Bat? Sure, you're killing me, Smalls. Are we done here? Let me see. Looks like it. Nope. There is resources underneath here. Oh shit. All right. Oh. And bonus. Right on, brother. Huh? Wait, what? let's go. What? On. Let me check something. My mods aren't doing their job. Oh, I can actually open up my manager up here. Fix it. I'll fix it. No, I actually have no idea what the fuck it is, honestly. Paul and Johnny. Fuck is Johnny? Maybe get it to play with them, and I just grinned the hell out of it. Waited for the last map to open. No you, cash cow. Say it to my face then. You can't, because my auto mod is being weird. My normal mods are being lazy. Kidding. JK, JK, JK.
Ashley, no time to lose.
Oh right, he hates me when I call him that here. Is that is it dry? Yeah, it feels dry, LMAO. I thought feels dry was his legal name. Ah.
Krauser, where do you think you're taking her?
Wow, imagine playing this not hopping on the Switch 2 bandwagon. I don't own a Switch 2. That shit's overpriced. Which is funny because the way everything else is going up, Switch 2 is starting to look like a goddamn budget. But, What up, DJ? How you doing, man? DJ! We keep looking over here. I thought this was like a corner. This is the right direction. Come on, game, wake me up. I'm tired. Bro, the Nintendo Swatch 2 is the best investment I ever made. What are you playing on it? So what button can I push to doubt that? What kind of cracking was that? That's pussy cracking. Crack it like you want it to give you pleasure, you dumb bitch. Wait, what did I crack? I don't even think about it. It was like my neck, my back, my pussy, or my crack. Wait, what was it? Was my elbows? My fingers? Your knuckles? Oh, okay, okay. He knew Pokemon. LOL. It's so fucking smooth and the loading time is minimal. That's good. What was I gonna say? Where is it? Where is it? There it is. I do have filters on to minimize background noise, so I wonder if maybe that, like, my knuckles cracking was kind of loud for me. Can you hear my neck? Let me see. No, it's not cracking time. Never mind. Some days I'm like, Housekeeper's Memo 1. I have failed you, my lord. I was unable to fulfill your final commandment and keep the boy from the path of wickedness. I caught a glimpse of Master Ramon's evil temperament during his younger years when he discovered a servant mocking him, calling him Pulgarcito. Behind his back, he summoned her to his private chambers. and forcing her to kneel before him. Ramon doused her face with a vial of vitriol he pulled out of his pocket. It's out of the pocket. I spent like $60. Remember I told you I got it for dirt cheap because I got it when it was seasonal worker for GameStop. It'd be cool if you got the Switch too for $60. Damn this cat. What are you doing? Stop. Don't get too excited. Crack it like you want it to pull your hair, slap you, abuse you both, verbally, mentally, physically, and wanting you to call it daddy. Oh man, that's the kind of love I'm missing in my life. Let's see. What is this comment on my face? The young master watched with glee when the servant writhed in agony as the skin melted from her face. Kinky. His twisted grin still haunts my dreams to this very day. To this day! As time passed, Ramon's treachery only deepened, and that infernal cult soon learned they could prey upon his vulnerable heart. Curse the fiends. He's got a crack kink? He's got an acid kink, I think. They manipulated Master Ramon and turned him into their puppet. Worst of all, they managed to use him to unleash Las Plagas that the Salazar family has fought so long and hard to keep sealed away. Lord Diego, rest assured I intend to watch over Master Ramon till the very end, whatever fate may befall us. As a faithful servant of the Salazar family since birth, it is my duty and my penance to do. Hold on, let me go check on what the fuck my cat needs. I'm sorry, guys. I'll be right back.
Until the end.
What do you want, you fucking brat?
Because we had 2 brackets, right? Everybody I fought, I sent them to the loser's bracket. And then Frank, I fought him like halfway through, sent him to the loser's bracket. And even I was surprised because like Frank's good. Like fucking Scorpion himself, he just climbed his way out of the Nether Realm and got his revenge. And it was down to me and him. And I didn't win a single round of that fight. He fucking wiped his ass with me. So if I was there, I would have been second. LOL. Oh, you're talking shit.
Attack on Titan. Yeah, I still gotta get on that. Oh shit, he's eating her butt. He's eating her butt. Don't eat my butt. It does create even more backtracking. You can come for the price of $6.99. I mean, why can't I come and then get paid? Grandfather clock appears to be broken and stop ticking altogether. Is this not the one? LMAO. I mean, look at me. I'm already a content creator, you know what I'm saying? I'm not a good one, but I dip my toe in. I could dip something else in, if you know what I'm saying. Let's give Tofu a shout out. Oh, 8 down sights? Oh, I know, right? I guess I could technically fake it. Ah, shit! That was a real scream that time. Fuck! I hate you. I hate you. Give me my knife back, bitch.
I don't know, guys.
How loud they coming?
I don't know. So you gotta tame some pussy. Give him a moment, por favor.
Like I did a sculpture of my, not my cat, but a cat. And then somebody
She's
said,
still a crybaby, I swear. She only does this when I'm in meetings or when I'm streaming. It's because I'm talking. Oh. That's what it is. I'll give you a good cracking when I slap your ass while you have my knee. Completely when it comes to cracking your joints. Ah, that's the can charm we all miss. It's just vulgar as ever. only if you slip a finger in. Nice. Getting anything? Oh, nice. I think I'm heading to the island right now.
Perfect. Won't have to swim after all.
During those, I'm a little freaky. Nilka. Yeah, I've seen your chat. I've seen your streams. I know exactly the kind of man you are.
Looking
Hey, my perfect butt. I ain't no bitch. I'm down to getting a little dirty. Hey, you pull a finger out, it's like, and it's just covered in doo-doo. If Can't so freaky, she'd probably be like, wow, Joey doesn't have full Bush Ada mod to even play Resident Evil 4. Fuck a finger, I'm going straight fist. Jesus Christ. Yeah, but I'm streaming it, so I can't have all this fun mods on. Also, I had this for PC for like 2 weeks. I haven't had time for the mods, DJ. I haven't had time. Oh, look at that repeating water texture.
My disappointment is immeasurable, and my day is ruined.
You look like you've got something to say.
Take your top
I have
off.
something to ask you, but I don't think I'll get a straight answer.
I haven't charged this thing in like 4 months. I have no idea how it still has a charge.
Raccoon City. You know, after the incident, the world changed.
I mean, if you put the fist in, you're definitely getting doo-doo.
I guess I changed too.
You. Leon S. Kennedy. You haven't changed.
Benjamin holds on for dear life. Yeah, no.
So here's my question. Have you changed, Ada? Or are you just trying to use me again?
Bro, I've seen her before. She from K-pop Demon Hunters? Racist.
We're here.
That's funny.
Don't think too hard, handsome.
She's from
See you later.
My Dreams.
Story of my life.
Did you get blonder? He got blonder. What's funny is that soundtrack is playing on my Google Home right now. I liked that movie. I saw it maybe like 3 weeks ago. I was like, not bad, not bad. Not bad. Wait a minute. Okay, we're good. Nah, bro, my racist ass would have been like, that bitch didn't pack my extra egg roll for my last order. That'll do it. Alright, is it space? It is space. Whoa. Eyes are glowing.
There you are.
Give me back my Ashley. What's we got? Can I zoom out? Oh, nice. I finally got that text. Alright, oh, there we go. Oh, it's knife. It's time to knife fight your old teacher. First of all, I guess he's my old teacher, but they were actually like partners on a few missions. I think they're supposed to be equals.
Lazy bees. Better watch my step if I don't want
But I've surpassed the master. Anything else? All these white lights make me think. All right, I think that was it. All right, let's go. Yo, Mr. White. All right, do I have it? Okay, I do have it. Can I craft the explodey ones? I need, oh no, I need the big boy. Need the big boy resources. Don't climb, stupid. Partners like how my uncle and his roommate over 20 years. Okay. Yeah, Leon Krauser had a bad breakup. And he stole Ashley just to get my attention. Oh, whoa, 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 whoa. Imagine the Sonic the Hedgehog, the wow! You know how he says whoa. Wow! I can't do it. That's where I gotta go. So I keep exploring this way. Did you play? Have you guys played the remake? It's quite good.
Welcome. I've got something new.
Killer 7. Oh shit.
Why not
Oh,
try
shit.
your hand at a new gun, stranger?
Motherfucker.
Not enough cash.
No, I'm trying to examine it.
Got a selection of good things on sale, stranger.
Oh, it's actually the small resources that I need anyway.
Bang for your buck.
I miss my wife tales.
Guarantee it.
What?
I don't always have this in stocks. Come back.
I need you to make the reward just for me on your rewards. What is the reward? Also, I thought you were dead. he's vanished.
Anytime.
Welcome back. 7 mines. Bonus mines. Yay. Oh, then I can sell this shit because I don't use these. Maybe I will when I'm trying to be sneaky, but we'll see. Oh, also, yeah. Can I upgrade that?
Welcome.
Probably should. Let me sell some
I've
shit
got
first.
something new for you.
That's done. That's done.
I'll buy almost anything. A deal.
I'm not pulling up on stream. I'm busy. What is it though? Depression is something. Oh, I'm sorry. God damn it. Now I feel like a dick. Didn't know whether I wanted to die or have an orgy then die. Well, knowing what I know about you, that orgy's something you want regardless. If I miss my wife tales, lol. It's the I miss my wife tales. Oh, okay. Ooh, see you guys in a minute.
A well-tuned weapon can make up for a lack of skill, friend.
Well, I like the end of the goddamn thing now, so.
We're starting to get an idea of your tastes, friend. There you are, as you wished.
That should be good. Nah, be a dick. I love the dark humor abuse.
Some new items you might be interested in. Oh, I knew you'd choose that one. Well then, what can I do you for?
Oh,
Thank you.
I'm still working on the doodad for your stream. You have a wife? You do got a wife. Oh yeah. Do you still have this thing? Does it still work?
That cash in your pocket or your life.
Oh, hold on. Can I This is how it works? Yeah, there we go. Forgot about that.
Some other bits and pleasant travels.
Can you fight? Joy, why are Twitch ads telling me to take offense? Wait, what? The fuck are you talking about? I highly doubt that's what they're doing. This is a joke that's going over my head. I'm gonna sneeze. Shit. Excuse me. I don't even know what Roman numeral that is, but expelled by the militant wicked, we find ourselves in exile. Withered is the grass, barren are the trees. We want expiation? We wait in expiation. This isolated island, our purgatory. Yet despair not, brothers and sisters. Our time shall come. Hester Salazar. Sadler. Look at me, Hester. What kind of name is that? Alright. Let's go! Let's go! Wait, I didn't use a magnum, did I? Factory wants me to take more drugs is crazy. Yeah, what the fuck are you talking about?
God, welcome. Got some rare things on sale.
Got some rare things on sale, stranger. I thought I picked up something else. Oh, I can craft shit though. That's nice. What can I craft? 33 handgun. I can't do both. I have enough handgun. Let me get some machine gun. One of your Twitch ads was on Fent. What are you talking about? Give me details. I don't know what ad is for. I don't want to fist fuck anymore. I want their wife. I'm willing to be a submissive bitch to find things like DJ Press's wife. It's a side of you I've never seen. JK, JK, JK. Going this way now. Yo. Oh wait, it's not equipped. Let's hit. Damn, Leon. Set your goddamn aim. Oh. Wait, I hit something though. Oh, that's the... yeah. Oh, you silly Billy. It was anti-drug ad, but it was about fentanyl, not even weed anymore. But you said it wants you to take fentanyl? Uh-oh.
Damn it.
Well, that didn't go well. Oh, shit. Alright. Well, that's just prime. Shit. I like hearing them like, rada, rada, rada. Oh, shit. Goddamn, bro. Oh, nice. Ah! Ah! Oh my god! I can't move! Why can't I move? The fuck was that?
Damn. I knew it.
Oh shit, it's that guy. Wait, oh shit!
Here you go.
Give me a break already.
Okay, hold on, dude. Wait, we're gonna use the shotgun. Oh shit. Alright, I'm getting my ass kicked. Wait, let me tell you something. The street drug fentanyl, not the medical fentanyl, right? He dead? Okay, I think I got him. Got he. Got he. Wait, actually. Suplex. 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 Yeah, buddy. Oh, why are you cussing at me? Why are you saying such hateful things? Oh shit, I thought I pressed E. Dumb. Are we good? Not getting his ass beat by Bebop is wild. Yeah, that's funny. Also, I'm glad you got the right one. A lot of people mix up Bebop and Rocksteady. And I'm like, ah! I'm ass beat by everybody. Get the fuck out! It's goddamn! Stop it! Stop it! Oh shit, nice. I should have left that on. Alright. Who the fuck? There you fuck. Tight. Yo, Mr. White. Get the fuck out of here.
Out of the way.
Is this gonna kill me? Is it off? Okay, it is now. Or at least it moved. Which, I put it back where it was, which I think is... Oh, no, this works, this works. So what? Can I go this way, though? I think I can. Can. You never fuck up my turtles, dog. Yeah, I fucking love First in the stream. Hey, what up, Paul? Guys, holy shit. I didn't know he was first. Thanks for being first, dude. Stop running, Leon. Stop running. What up, Paul? Can still exist? That's what I was saying. No, I don't trust it. What do you mean a headshot is not a one-hit kill? So these are monsters. They're humans that have been infected with this thing called the plagas. It's a parasite that takes over like everything. Duh. So yeah, they're pretty hardy individuals. Is there more to collect over here? Am I fucking up? Hang on. Oh, yeah. There's more over here. Have I been in here? Okay. What up, Poppy? Want me to fuck you in the ass too? Jesus Christ. It's like I forgot, you know. All good. Glad you're here. It's like Metal Gear. It's been too long, brother. Where is? Oh shit. No, there is. Is it in here? On top. No, I'm seeing dry tomorrow. I want to keep it tight. There it is. There it is. Whee! Are you on top of this building? Joey, what if this was one of the games our president played and he says, why are you spending so hard to get rid of? Then he just lost his shit. Makes you wonder, you know? Makes you think. Make sure you send me before and after pics to make sure to record it. I want to see you being a good girl taking it. I can't fucking read. Damn. Yeah, I think we're good. Okay. Got all that. Climb this? Oh, I should be able to. That's bullshit. Let me in! Let me in! Oh. I thought it was up there. I thought it was the other way around. Wait a minute. Okay, I see. Cyber will be there too. He can work the camera. We must get rid of lost plugins before they take our job. South Park guy in the background. They took our jobs. And then they always like, they took our dirt, they took our dirt, they took our dirt. And then they always throw the chicken. I love it. I gotta go all the way around. God damn. We good? Yeah, I think we're good. Let me in! Dyslexic dumb bitch. Wait, dumb bitch dyslexic. It'd be cool if I read that beforehand and then made that actually backwards. Ahí está. Yeah! That was close.
You're serious.
Die! Die, motherfucker! Thank you. So, yeah. What are you playing these days, Kent? Still, oh shit. Still Call of Duty? And which one is out? And which one? Hold on, I see shit talking about me reading. Be right there. Jerry reading a journal is a fucking phenomenon. Fuck you. No, you guys just be typing tongue twisters. Is the fact you said the second part differently than what I typed is hilarious. Wait, did I really? Bitch, dumb, dyslexic. But yeah, I'd probably say it. Yeah. Shut up! Shut the fuck up! I'm gonna do that to you.
Not bad, right?
Break it. This cat is on one tonight. Oh, I missed some gunpowder? I'm gonna leave that behind. Where is it? Did it fall? The fucking hoe, mega dyslexic. You said dumb bitch dyslexic. Well, what? I'm sorry, okay? Sorry. I probably fell. Can I go down there? Oh, I think I can. I'll pick it up. I'll get it. I'll get it. It's over here, though. Dead end? Okay, dead end. Stop laughing. That's freaking me out. Sweat! Go to sleep, go to sleep, go to sleep. Good girl, make mama proud. I'll give you a reward afterwards. You're gonna Paul? Pause the stream, I gotta take a dump. No, just put it on your phone and bring it with you, like an adult. Can't open your mouth. Can's mouth is already dirty enough. I'm surprised you're not at TwitchCon, Joey. I was planning on it, but plans this month just didn't really work out. Somebody broke into my car, and so I accepted a job as like a production assistant again, so that I can pay for it. And I'm still actually waiting to get fucking paid. But anyway, the dates weren't set, so I actually didn't know if I'd be around or not. Right? I switch. Oh, wrong weapon. Oh shit. Even better. This fat piece of shit was talking. Rewind the stream 5 minutes. I added that part. I'm still playing COD, but also Battlefield 6. Wait, someone broke into your car? Yeah, it's been the episode of the month. Sweet. This is why I can't have nice things like my Kia that I love, but it's a fucking Target, so I can't. Like Steve, I can't. I'll say it like that. Suplex, suplex, suplex! Nah. No suplex. Are they still keep spawning? Oh! Shit. Hold on, guy. Wait. Oh, shit! I thought that was an arrow.
My arm's not looking great.
Oh, it's not. I shoot the rocket? Die. For real, dude? Story time? That's your brother, dumbass. I mean, it's not much of a story. I went to go fucking, what was I doing this time? Oh, I was gonna go hang out with friends? I think that's what it was, because I remember being like, sorry guys, I'm not gonna make it. And I sent a picture of my car. But yeah, somebody shattered the window, and then they fucked up the steering column, and then there's like an internal harness that holds all the electronics together. That got fucked up. So every now and then when I drive, my turn signals don't work, so I have to, like, while I'm driving, pop up the little steering thing, you know, then get in there and like just like get the little G spot for it. And like push the connector pins like inward, you know. I mean, I got a quote. My deductible's kind of high for my insurance. It's $1,000, and because of the car window, I paid $200 to get that fixed. So I need another $800. That was all. And then that's gonna go. I forgot what I was gonna say, but that I'll get that set as soon as I get that money, and then I'm gonna trade it in because I'm tired of this happening. Sounds sketchy.
Out of the way.
Yeah, I don't like it either. Oh, it was me. I broke into it telepathically. Wanted to leave my mark and come butt fuck you later. Well, just so you know, you did butt fuck me, okay? I don't have that kind of money. Butt fuck me hard. I hurt my feelings. I don't bother anybody. Leave my car alone. You know, that's my stance on this. Shuri, no. Wee. Like it's time to move to the strip and become a professional tourist scammer. No, I'm too nice to scam people like that. I'd be like, yeah, you guys, if you want. I don't got that salesman drive. Unless I'm talking about video games, funny enough. Because I think I told you I used to work at GameStop. I was too good at it. And then the fact it's shitty ass retail that got me wanting to like stab people by the end of my time there. There's handgun bullets that I want. How far back is that? Where them handgun bullets at? There we go. Thanks. Thing reloaded? No. Just right now to be a crypto bro. You think so? That ship sailed though, didn't it?
This where they're keeping Ashley?
Shotgun? Yeah. And a flashbang. I've lost everything. Everything! Alright, here's what's gonna happen. You're gonna come in here. You're gonna go right there. That'll do. Yeah. No. No. Yeah. Yeah. Sure. That'll do. So let me use this one. And then... how do I change ammo types? Oh, G. It's right there. No. You bothered me. You didn't creep, stalk me, and kidnap me into my full Stockholm Syndrome dark fantasy. To keep me in your basement and use me as a birthing machine. God damn. That reminds me of, do you watch Meat Canyon? Did you ever see that bit he did with Grimace? And he's like, female! Female! Bail. We bring the boom! Oh. Every shot. I see.
They keep coming.
They do. They don't stop coming and they don't stop coming and they don't stop coming and they stop moving. They don't stop moving and they don't stop moving. Oh, nope. There we go. Sweet. Fuck, I broke it. Love that meme. The Smash Mouth one. Ooh, side objective. Oh shit. I would also like to be Joey's birthday machine, please. Well, I don't think the laws of nature allow you to give birth, but I'll practice. That's the best I can do. I feel like there's monsters in here. Heads up. Fuck, dude. Nobody saw that. Nobody fucking saw that. Hey, ugly. What happens if I just shoot? Will they come running? Bring it on, bitches. You guys are stupid. Oh shit.
Sorry, must have slipped.
Oh shit, I could have knifed him. You dead? I think he's dead. Got him. Right? Still making noises. What are you up to tonight, Paul? Playing VG games? Oh, it's on the window? Oh, I thought it went in here. I thought I went through it. There it is. Playing Borderlands with Dry. Nice. Tell Dry I say what up. Jason, VC just jerking it. I believe it. I'm pretty sure he's always jerking it, to be honest. Is this really the sub-objective? I guess it is. The fact that Dry didn't comment to stream and kissed your butt hello, disappointing. I know, right? Like, after all we've been through, it's the least you can do. Which Call of Duty are you playing? Which one's out? What's the latest? The Cold War? I don't keep up with these games at all. Is the new one out yet?
Ashley! Ashley!
Wait, I think I gotta go back outside.
Come on, Ashley, wake up! Shit! Hang in there.
It said sub-objective. You lied to me. I'm going back outside because I want that thing before I forget. You lied to me. Also, do you play any single-player games?
Doesn't look like I can get in through here. Need to find another way.
Should just loot it out here first. Oh, where is it? I hear you. Oh shit. That actually startled me. Fuck you. hear it. There you are. Fuck you. Welcome in, Jay. How was your poo-poo? Did you need help? Did you get it all in? Honestly, it was kind of a failure. I'm constipated. Darn. Well, Candy could probably loosen that up for you. I don't think she'd mind. I'm gonna open up with these. This is probably better with the villagers until I get the explodey parts. I hear you. Oh, fuck. No, let me deal with this. Shit! Don't turn around, don't turn around, don't turn around, don't turn around. Sweat! Stealth mechanics, baby! Oh, shit. That's about to break. Oh, shit, that actually killed him! I didn't know that would one hit kill him. It did hella damage to my knife, but... Dude, I didn't know that was a thing. Breaking room? Where the regenerators at? I think they're coming up. Okay, I thought there was something in there. Oh! What is this? What is that? Gunpowder? Tight. Need Ashley for that. We could be like, bitch, hide in there. That's locked. Okay, yeah. It's like Spaceballs. He's like, raspberry. It's a strawberry. I don't remember. Locked. Key card. Oh, it's a ladder. Dang. Yo. Fuck. Too much shit on me. Where's the merchant? Where's the merchant? Yeah. Huh. No! Shit. Mátalo. Un forastero. That must have been a critical. Oh, fuck. Oh, I have the little BB knife. That'll help. The little BB one. Oh, wait. Yeah, cool. I would try to play the new Call of Duty, but rather get my ass fucked by a black guy with a fro and glasses who likes Resident Evil games. Yeah, they're out there. I don't think they're uncommon. Right. I remember when I saw that trailer for the Sad World. I remember when I saw the trailer for the new Call of Duty, I was like, what is this? And it said Call of Duty, and I was like, what? It looked like Control, like with guns. Well, you know, like bigger guns, I guess. Like, I'm actually interested in that campaign, which is really all I care about in Call of Duty, to be honest. I'm one of them. Guess shotgun. No bonus. Sad world indeed, Ken. Sad world indeed. I feel like there's something I'm missing. Oh shit, this is the guy on fire part. The man on fire. This is Denzel Washington. I'm ready for you, you motherfucker. Fool me once. Been traumatized since 2005. There you are.
Something I think you.
Oh yeah, I actually have treasures to combine. Two, three, a photo to the 5. I put that in there. I might take it out. Yeah, if I get it red, it actually like it's like hella more. I'll leave it there for now.
Like, welcome.
Because I can get like a million out of it. It's actually worth to wait.
Your valuables won't do you. Thank you. Got a stone? Get yourself welcome. Why not try your hand at
Case
a new
upgrade.
gun, stranger? Bigger is
Ah, bro! Why did I do
Say,
that?
at least I thought so,
No.
lads.
Oh shit! I gotta tune up. Oh no! I'll fix it. I'll figure something out. Maybe I should just sell this. Shit!
I'll buy almost anything.
What can I sell? I've never used the red 9. I'll pull that Stingray out soon enough. And then some of these bolts.
A deal well struck.
Tune up.
Good as new.
A knife. Shit. Actually, I could sell some sapphires. Yeah, that's fine. I have like
Thank you.
a million of them.
Crossing your T's, dotting your pleasant
You know it.
travels.
All right, peace out, bro. Any more shooting ranges? No. It's time to fight for my life. There's a dingle dangle in here. You've dingled your last dangle, treasure. There's Eesh. Sorry, I have to. I will physically die if I don't do this. That's fine, that'll do. Hey, come on. No. Oh, actually have a surplus of shotgun for once. Sure. And then I think I saved.
Take a look. Something's bound to catch your eye.
I know. Key card still. No, I have. Wait, what kind of key was that? What key was that actually? That? Luis's key. Oh, yeah, that's where I get the parasite extractor thingy. Thingamabob. Yep, this is where the generators are gonna start happening. No. They're spooky. Ooh, what's that actually? Is that a... Oh, there's a chicken egg in there. I'll grab it. I'll go back for that. There it is.
Gun rhymes with fun for a reason, stranger.
Where was that egg during the fucking Salazar fight? Dang. And more than like the regenerators like abilities, it's like the noises they make. Yeah, that shit, yeah. Fuck that noise. Attending pathologist Ernesto Munoz Reyes. Your keycard application has been approved by the head of the department. Please bring your level 1 keycard to the dissection, and follow the procedure on the next page. Overwrite card for level 2 clearance using the machine located in freezer. Overwrite card for level 3 clearance using the machine located in the incubation lab. Please ask each section supervisor for permission to access the machines. Facility 1 administration department. Thanks. No. Oh, actually, I think I'm gonna need my rifle. I actually have to go back. Yep, I think I do. Please no regenerator. Not yet, I'm not ready. Right terminal. Wait. This is the kitchen area. So yeah, I'm gonna leave real quick. Don't run into me. You can't see me. Oh, wait, I went the wrong way.
Hello, stranger. Welcome. Wielding. What can I do you for?
Oh, it's the
Hard times, mate.
typewriter. Yeah, Stingray's what I'm gonna need, I believe. Make room for it. Ah! No, not you. Oh, wait, stop it. Fuck, yeah, there's no room. God damn it, castle. Actually, I don't think I need the Magnum right now. That'll do it. That should be fine. I don't think I'll need this right now either. I actually have all these here. Not yet. I need more gunpowder. Alright, let's go get that. Wiki. You stupid bitch!
Did you fuck with me?
No, you. Ooh, oh, power. Shit, their generators are gonna come out. No. This is the only part of the game that's actually spooky. I forget, Jay. You said you're playing something? Or are you just in VC chat? Hanging with the D-gens? I do be connecting. Okay, okay. And freezer is where I gotta go. I gotta get the actual key card. Where the fuck is that motherfucker? Card lock. Key card. Okay, okay, okay. I gotta go to this section then. Just chilling tonight. I'll probably play Metaphor after your stream. After my stream. You're gonna be up for a while, buddy. Let's do this. Oh god. Wait, where's it start? Okay. No? Oh, there it is. I gotta light this one up too. Power, is that not enough? Should be good. Okay. You were gonna be both of those. Oh, but they're not going in. Giggity. And then... How does it work again? Both lighting up though. Not make sense. Power calibration required. I gotta go freezer first? Hold on. Yeah. Yeah, I'm not gonna be streaming too late, but what time is it? Oh, nice. I got like 2 hours ahead of me. Yeah, actually, I could put some distance in this game. Hold on. I don't get that puzzle. Hold on. I gotta light both of those. That's fine. It still says insufficient power. Like, oh, I think I get it. I'm silly goose. There we go. I want to stay up till 3 AM at least. Oh, okay, okay. I'll help out. You got me for the next like 2 hours at least. Ooh, shit! Look at that. That's pretty metal, dude.
Christ. What kind of experiments are they doing here?
I actually love how that looks. It kind of reminds me of, because it's always cool when like human parasites, like in sci-fi and shit and horror, like you could just see them attached to the nervous system and like the spine and stuff. This reminds me a lot of The Faculty. You know, like when they put the doohickey in the water and then it's like it starts, you know, tendriling out and then like it copies his hand and then you can see it kind of trace the nervous system. Good shit. April 9th. At last, I have created new life. I call it Regenerator. Its metabolic capacity is incredible. Unless all the parasites residing within its organism are destroyed, its tissue can regenerate indefinitely. April 10th. Upon examining the body with a biosensor scope, I was able to confirm that the parasites behave like vital organs for a host, almost as though it has multiple hearts. This new creation of mine is essentially immortal. Surely even Dr. Frankenstein himself would want to shake my hand in admiration. Fuck over yourself. April 13th, I shared the news of my achievement with that pretentious bastard colleague of mine. His face went white, then he started scribbling something in his notebook. I thought he'd be impressed, but instead he'd actually had the nerve to warn me of the so-called dangers. He's a fool. I have everything under control. Date. Subject went wild and escaped from its cryogenic tank. I was the real fool. Alright. No regenerators, K. Oh shit, there he is. What'd I fucking say?
Fuck are you?
Oh shit! I forgot they could do that. God damn it. Fuck you! Move! Move, bitch! Okay, now we're going to freezer. Which... okay. How many of them are there? Just the one, hopefully. He's coming to kill me. God damn it. God, I have like no sense of direction. I don't see where I can go left though. There it is. The power.
Gotta switch the power over.
Where's the power again? Oh, I was going the right way. This one? Yeah. Also. Oh shit. Okay. Man, he's like running at me. Ah! Oh, that was kind of tight, dude. I never did one of those. Let me in! Let me the fuck in! Anything for me to pick up while I'm in here? No, he's probably gonna actually come in here. Motherfucker.
Shit, again?
Oh shit. Hold on, bitch. That hurt. And then where's my other one? So now, wait, what was in here? Oh, I gotta get my key back, don't I? This game knows what they were doing. Hold on, items. Where are the key items at? Wrong button. Oh, stupid. Yeah, it's in there. Fuck, I didn't get it. Please don't kill me. I have so much to live for. Bitch. Give it! Give it! Okay.
Overwrite complete.
Oh shit. And then alright, level 2 lock, it's in there. But I think I actually have to do the thing again. Yeah, I gotta switch the power over. Fuck. Right? No, we're good. Oh my god. Oh my god. Open the fucking door! Okay, okay, they're coming. Oh lord, they're coming. One button. Wait, where the fuck is the God, that does more like behind me. I'm scared the regenerators are gonna come in here. I totally pressed. It's okay. Okay, I think we're safe from the regenerators, maybe. I can actually loot without being skilled. Hear it. Where'd Dingle Dangle at? There it is. Right? Oh. Too dark. I can't fucking see anything. Oh. Gunpowder, always nice. Booyah. Can I pretty please have the... Okay, I think it's around here. Holding cell? That's Ashley. Man, a treasure, but I can't get that yet. Override terminal, don't need that right now. Or control lever. Yeah, dissection room? I was already in there. We're good. I think it's down here. I think it's getting too ahead of myself. Can we upgrade it? Do I have to go all the way back to the thing still? If so, that's not nice. Like, what I could do, technically, is just rip them apart with... Oh, wait. There it is. It's in here. Okay. That'll do. Fun fact, kill at least one of them before. Oh, wrong button. Can I zoom in? Oh, Alt.
Even this thing is controlled by bugs.
Wait, wait. Wait! Oh, shit. He's too close! Now, let me get the fuck out of here. Hang on. That didn't go great. Can I make more? Look at that. During the recent power outage, a test subject awoke from cryogenic stasis, broke out of its holding tank, and escaped. The subject was contained 20 hours after 20 hours, leaving 7 dead, 19 wounded. We were unable to recover one of the bodies and the tool from inside it. Because of this unfortunate accident, the cause of this unfortunate incident is unstable power supply. Oh my god, guys, I can't read. The outdated generators cannot keep up with our demanding schedule. Management must prioritize the needs of the engineers over those of the researchers and prevent something like this from ever happening again. Today, Junior?
Need a wrench to get this open.
Oh. Daddy. But then I think motherfuckers are gonna start swarming in. I like how I couldn't just stick my little finger in there and flick it. Like I had to take the whole thing off with these like spaces in there that are totally big enough. That's annoying.
Damn.
Damn.
I knew it.
Hold on, I'm trying to shoot dynamite guy. Oh, cool. I think.
Next.
Ah. Uh-oh. Thanks. Is that enough to kill them? Okay. No more. I'm full. We're at capacity, okay? No more monsters. Oh, and I forgot the fishy. Oh, I didn't mean to do that. Fuck. That's fine. Okay, time to fight back. Wait, does this connect me back? Yeah, it does. I think the regenerators are in here also. Fight me, you sons of bitches! I missed that last time. Oh. Didn't because oh, there we go. Yeah, I haven't been here. But that thing's open like, oh, I can tell a bitch to hide in there. That's what that is. That's okay. I'm gonna kill these things first. Nah, we're good.
Ashley.
Uh-oh. And then like Chucky, she was like, "You stupid bitch!" Attacks me. Ira Leaf 420. Thank you for the follow, Ira. Appreciate that. I take it you're a Resident Evil fan? Could it be my dope Ninja Turtle shirt? Oh, in a bit. Oh, thank you. The doctor asked for urine stool and blood samples, so I gave him a pair of my underwear. I want to steal that.
Okay.
That's pretty good. How's your night going? Or day, depending on where you are in the world. Yeah, thank you for the biddy. And the follow. Much appreciated. Another day, another sucker. Is this chapter over? Yeah! Getting through it. Now, I'm a little concerned about my storage. I'll be okay. I got this. I'm a big boy. We're on chapter 14, baby. So 14, 15, 16. There's 3 more. Yes, I counted on my fingers like a child. Thank you for laughing. I'm a Resident Evil fan. Never stop.
Thank you for laughing. I am a Resident Evil fan. Never stop. Keep laughing. Keep smiling in life.
Hell yeah. Thank you. As long as you do the same, okay? Ira Gretlife. Or I regret life? I don't know.
Sorry I'm late.
No. Thank you. You brought the medicine just in time.
I am sleepy, but it's okay. I got this. I'm gonna try to finish this tonight. Will I? Oh, no. But I have like another hour and a half of stream.
Till the end.
No, probably not. That's like 2 hours or something left.
Come on.
Yeah, I'm a big Resident Evil fan too.
Let's get rid of these things.
For Luis.
For Luis. He's like, who? You talking about? Oh, that guy.
There's a lab where we can remove the parasites. Had a crazy hunch that you'd know where it is.
Their most important facilities are housed in their sanctuary at the top of the mountain. That's where I'd look.
Thanks, Ada.
Ada the encyclopedia.
Love you.
Happy to help. Now you owe me.
Shit.
Could you give me a boost?
Oh, give me a goddamn chance. I was waiting for the call to end. It's like they're Gears of Warring me, where I can't do anything while I'm on the phone. Gunpowder for nothing. Actually, that might be a lie. I think I might. Handgun or submachine gun. Let's do submachine gun. Wait, how much? Oh, 10,000.
Pretty much a master of unlocking.
Don't you ever? Right there you stand where she stood. Just try 5 blue medallions. Or that's 5. If anyone has a moment to spare, would you please turn those blue medallions into broken mess on the floor? Whatever. Cargo depot, 5. 5. I think on the map. Sick. That's something I wish was an option. So when I got this game, I got like the gold edition or whatever. It just came with everything. And it came with cheat codes. It just shows me where all this stuff is on the map. And I don't think I can turn it off. Oh. Always use those. Damn it, there are more.
I've got some new items in stock.
Look, first I was excited, but now this is just... yeah. It's in here first. Time for some shooting practice, and everybody's gonna see how bad I am.
Break's over, I suppose. Welcome. I've got something new for you, mate.
Saw that.
Your valuables won't do you much good in thank you. Crossing your T's, dotting your I's.
You know
That's
it.
the way to be. Anything else I can help you with? Better to be over-prepared. Don't get...
Don't. That'll do. Yeah. Perfect. Oh. Cool.
Get yourself killed now.
Much health. We'll worry about that later. Hi, Ashley. I missed you. Oh, nope, nope. It's not in there, right? Okay. All right. So what we're dealing with.
Some of the targets are, well, particularly sturdy. One shot won't be enough for those, I'd wager.
Shit. All right. Gonna be here for a minute.
Hi. That was awesome. Good shot.
Thanks, babe.
That's the stuff. Double kill.
Oh, wait. I think I got... I only saw 2 numbers. I think I was just too slow for that last one.
Are you serious?
Very good.
Shit, I missed a pirate. I think it's one of the conditions, probably. I know. 20 shots or less? Oh, that shotgun definitely killed it. Because I think each projectile might count. 2, 3, 4. I wasn't counting. It was 9 shots, I think. Oh. Fuck.
Very good. That's the stuff. Double kill.
Shit. I failed. What was that? It's like that meme of like that black kid where he's just like it's like crying because he's mad. That's how I feel.
Awesome.
All right, this will take some practice. I'm sorry.
It's all about positioning, mate. Changing scenery. 3, 2, 1, begin.
High score, you.
Beautiful.
3.
Superb shot.
4. Fuck, I missed.
Double kill.
7. 8. Oh!
Reload.
Actually, I have to use the bathroom. I kind of want to take a little smoke break. Be right back, guys. BRB. This button says.
It's supposed to be super scary.
I'll be back in like 10 minutes.
Dude,
Here, I'll
she's,
leave a
like,
little
farted
pin.
blood out. She's like, and there's like a pool.
Smiley face.
Oh shit.
This is amazing. Oh, what up, Salt? Do you go by Salt or Tofu? I've been teeter-tottering. How's your day going? Paint me like one of your French girls. Can I? Promise?
I use a voice changer to hide my identity. He's just like Ghostface. What's your favorite position?
Alpha team is flying around the forest, situated in. It was like 18 gigs for me, I think, on my PlayStation.
Blake,
Something
you
crazy
need
like that.
anything repaired or even a simple bypass, and I'm your man.
If any of you take on any damage, get back to me ASAP, and I'll help you out.
Brother!
I'm not carrying any dead bodies back.
I have the recessive genes.
I'm locked, loaded, and ready to make shit dead.
Blah, blah, nigga. All right, let's go.
I'm not sure if he does, but I'm trying to get later prints. No, I did not. No, I did not. Show's over. Fuck Diggity 85. I like to open it and check. I'm a bit creeped out. But why? This again. Who is it? Bitch, who is he? Hey. You guys are really sus. Sussy Baka? I got my underwear in there. Bitch, I'm about to take your underwear off. We're gonna put the fucking... Why won't you?
Oh, 8 down sights? Oh, I know, right? I guess I could technically fake it. Ah, shit! That was a real scream that time! Fuck! I hate you! I hate you! Give me my knife back, bitch. Oh, Lord, they coming.
I don't know where I'm going. I don't know where I'm going. I don't know where I'm going. Come through. Oh shit!
You the man now, dog. Sean Connery. No, one of my favorite lines in the whole franchise of 007 is the Dr. Schmidt and Western, and you've had your shit. And he like shoots it in the back twice. Like, my man. I must be dreaming. But this game is less Sean Connery and more, hello, baby. I'll make you Randy.
I'm on a room full of multi-billion and bearer bonds. Must be worth hundreds of millions.
Are we gonna do the anime voice competition thing right now? We're gonna be super famous.
Oni-chan. Oni-chan. Chotomate. Iku. Uru.
Amazingly engrossed like that.
Am I going the right way? Wait. No, I can't go up. Why can't I look up and go there? I'm trying. Don't you dare. Don't you dare fail me, game. Don't you fucking dare fail me. This is on you, not me. Fuck! Fucking bitch. I can't aim up. How am I supposed to go there if I can't look there? I thought I was going the right way. Take me when you need me.
Oh shit! Why did that scare me? No! Oh, I jumped a little bit. That's pathetic.
Oh yeah, that's funny. I think last time I mentioned my sisters, I was talking about Cyberlycan. I was like, he's such a Chad, I love him so much, I'd let him date one of my sisters. But only Cyber. But he's taken, so he can't.
It does create even more backtracking. You can come for the price of $6.99. I mean, why can't I come and then get paid? Ran for the clock, previously broke it, and stopped ticking altogether. Is this not the one? LMAO. I mean, look at me. I'm already a content creator. You know what I'm saying? I'm not a good one, but I dip my toe in. And I could dip something else in, if you know what I'm saying. Let's give Tofu a shout out.
Okay, alright. Yeah, right. Hello, there got my face. Crumpets. These are scones.
How many are there?
Well, I'm American. Biscuits.
Hey. Okay. Oh shit. Oh shit. Alright, joke's on you. I'm into this. Reboot. Reboot! Boop, boop. You remember that reference? Yeah, I knew you would, buddy. Joey.
Oh wow, dude, she's like farted blood out. She's like, blah, and there's like a pool.
I will keep them coming.
Man, I'm thoroughly enjoying this already, and it's been like 10 seconds. Nice. Did Frank get first? Of course he did. He's like the best one, which is cool. So that party was a blast because I did because he had 2 brackets, right? Literally everybody I fought, I sent them to the loser bracket. And then Frank, I fought him like halfway through, sent him to the losers bracket, and even I was surprised because like Frank's good. Like fucking Scorpion himself, he just climbed his way out of the nether realm and got his revenge. And it was down to me and him, and I didn't win a single round of that fight. He fucking wiped his ass with me. So if I was there, I would have been second. LOL. Oh, you're talking shit.
Did you kill Enrico?
Really?
Oh shit. Yeah. Like this. Rebecca!
Rebecca, no!
Chris, I have something to show you. Now, walk.
There's only 2 days from retirement.
Which is why I encourage all of you to go out there and compliment somebody. You know, I do it all the time.
Lower difficulty? Fuck you! Well, lower these nuts onto your chin. Dicks. Dicks. Dicks.
Oh shit, he's eating her butt. He's eating her butt. Don't eat my butt.
It's the FBI, motherfucker! Open up!
Catch. Oh shit. Later, Prince. No, I did not. No, I did not. Ew. Ew. Damn, dude. What the fuck were you drinking? Thank you. Gang, gang. Gang, gang. These nuts. Gang, gang.
Fat takes a steak, no!
Sucks about a shotgun ammo, but there will be more, you know? Wait, what the fuck?
I barely know you, but you seem cool. Here you go. What?
What game is that? Flat screens. I'm crying. I'm just like shouting out Pokeball or Pokecatch. That's funny. And then I heard that. I was like, oh shit. Like, is my fire alarm going off for a second? That scared the shit out of me.
I'd pay thousands to suck dick. What? I'd spend so much on BJ.
That makes me a little less anxious about signing him up to look after you.
It is Ulysses.
I'm skeptical of anyone that OCP tries
Chat,
to
look, a
push
distraction.
over.
Where?
First Becker, then Washington. And let's not forget about Dr. Blanche. Speaking of which, Dr. Blanche, is she being helpful? Are you getting
I
anything out
stubbed
of
my
this?
toe. In my pants. Chat, look, butthole's out. Where? Bro, I'm gonna pay out. Claire, run.
Hey, thank you for the raid, you boy. Boy, thank you. Appreciate that. Sorry, I need a little break, breaky break. And I made well, it's annoying. So I'll tell you in a minute. This one. So my fucking the thing I earned. I'm just kidding. I won at work. It fucking started leaking. So I don't know. I had to take a look at that, but I don't have time. But I wanted another margarita, so I made one. But it's shaken, not stirred. Fancy. How was your stream, your boy? You came just in time to watch me suck at this.
3, 2, 1, begin. Rig. You're an artist, mate. Triple kill. Double kill. Incredible. Triple kill.
Oh, really? Ah, fuck. God damn it. Aren't they blended? Yeah, but I was saying the mixer, the blender thing that I got, it's defective. It's leaking, so I couldn't use it because it's all over the fucking place right now. I gotta quit this and start over. It was good. I beat best month ever, then played Spider-Man. Nice. Did you not beat Spider-Man yet? Alright, I got this. I could do this. Thanks, Ashley. Thanks, Ashley.
Sweet.
I know you're patronizing me, bitch. Kidding. Alright, reloading. Reloading! Fuck.
That's the stuff. Double kill.
No way, are you for real?
Oh, that's probably a waste. Oh shit! Okay, cool.
Holy cow.
Oh, God.
You gotta get him. Are you serious?
No! Fuck, I missed one. Damn it. Alright, that was close. I almost got that one. No, I've been playing a lot of other things to shake things up and give variety. Dang, I didn't get all of them. I mean, I got it. Now I just gotta focus on the targets. Let's do it.
High school. Yeah, 3 at 1.
Oh, that was a waste. Ah. No! No! Okay. S tier though. Yeah, S tier, but I want to get all the bonuses. Fucking shit. That's the same one. Alright, I gotta stop messing up that one. Thank you. That was very positive. Reloading! Alright, which one's next again? Oh yeah, this shit. Don't fucking miss. Okay.
Are you serious? 2 at 1?
There's a heart attack, babe. Okay, oh shit. Wait. Okay. Oh god. Alright. Don't miss. Don't you fucking miss.
That was awesome. Good shot.
Thanks, sugar tits. Is that it? Was that everything? I don't think it was. There's probably one on the left that I fucked up and missed. Was that it? Yeah! Got it. I want that extra gold token. What is one target hold? Wait, what is the one target holding? Oh, it's... If you're talking about the skulls, then they're just like medallions for bonuses. If you're talking about that one target out of 39, I have no clue which one you're talking about. I think you're talking about the skulls, right?
I can't believe it.
Man, that's a lot easier to drink when it's not blended. It's got the bandana. I'll do it again just to see who you're talking about.
3, 2, 1.
Guy with the bandana. Oh, he's holding he's not holding anything. He's got like his little like the ball and chain on his hands. And these nice sailors have actually, why am I doing this again? I already won. Arrested these filthy pirates. Oh shit. Not the bolt. I hate this thing. I don't hate it. I just suck at it.
You got this, Leon.
That's what you sound like, Ashley.
That was awesome.
Oh fuck. Did I miss? Fuck. What the fuck? God damn it, Castle. Sorry, everybody. I'll be good.
High score, here we come.
What? Maybe not. Time is it? Okay, I got time.
You got this, Leon. Are you serious?
That's the stuff. You're an artist, mate.
Oh, wait, no. Do it. Fuck. Motherfucker. Alright, hold on. I think I have to hit him with the exploding one. When you yell at Ashley, you sound like me in Chernobyl. Yelling at Oliver. I might check that one out. I think I was mistaken, or at least the rogue nature of it was exaggerated from what I saw. I get it. Sick. Cool. Yay! Alright, how many targets are there? How many did I hit? Okay. Fuck. Shit. No! I need more of the fucking explodey ones. Shit. Damn it. I think it's very not accurate. Yeah, it feels more like a survival game, honestly. I mean, I'm not the biggest fan of those either, but I'll check it out. What are you doing? Where are you? Dude, I swear to God, the moment I stop stream, she's gonna leave me alone. It's... I'm sorry, Shuri. I'm sorry.
High score, here we come.
That's the stuff.
Good shot.
Fuck. Okay, you know what? I have to wait. I haven't died yet, so I don't know anything about the rogue aspect. That's nice. What are you gonna stream next?
Show 'em what you got.
You're an artist, mate. That's it. Superb shot.
All right, wait, Joey. Wait for it. Wait for it. You didn't wait for it. All right. All right. I'll wait for it this time.
You got this, Leon. Are you serious?
That's the stuff.
Good shot.
All right. Got him.
That was awesome.
That's it.
No. I shouldn't have done that. I shouldn't have done that. Because now I need that last one. I wasted that. I really needed that one.
Look at
All right, fuck.
Now's your chance. Good shot.
Fuck. All right, all but one. Bang. All right, I gotta wait. Almost. It's goddamn shooting gallery.
3, 2, 1, begin.
come. Oh, that was awesome.
That was actually close. Alright. You guys need it. And then I think this dude needs it, to be honest. What? Why did it go to the left? Like, he has a sway, okay? Like, this is me holding it. I ain't moving the mouse. This dude be swaying. That's why I got the stress. Or bully. I might do more Chernobyl tomorrow, or Shredder's Revenge, maybe Suicide Squad. Ah, Suicide Squad.
Tell them what you got. Good shot.
Alright. Maybe I can... Actually, probably should... Oh, I should have reloaded. Next time. I think that was the trick, though. Fuck! Okay, I got him. Fuck. Do it! Oh my god. Please? Nigga, I'm pressing G. Oh, I didn't reload. Oh, alright. Alright, I know what to do now. Reload after those 3 barrel guys at the back. Want to play a game while staring at Harry's ass. Wait, Harley's ass. Oh, they said Harry's ass. That's funny. I was like, who's Harry? Puta?
Oh, that was awesome.
Styles?
Shot.
Please, 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 please.
Holy cow, Leon, you gotta get him. Are you serious?
I think I did it. Fucking bitch. Or Trauma Truman. I never heard of that one. Alright. This is the one, guys. I have a feeling. I feel it in my bones, in my bones.
High score, here we come.
Nope. I'm rushing. Rushing. Just a hair. Just a hair. Wait for my cue.
You got this, Leon.
Now, were you rushing or were you dragging?
No, no.
God damn it. Dragging.
That one.
Oh, Harry Truman. I thought there was a game called Trauma Truman or something.
Tell them what you got.
Are you typing?
Oh, that was awesome. Are you serious?
I got it this time. Not quite my tempo. Yeah.
Oh, that was awesome.
Oh.
Look at all of them. Now's your chance.
Oh my god. What the fuck? Take your ass and shove it.
High score, here we come.
Yes, Yes, my Chromebook will try to fill in my words if I don't capitalize names, use correct punctuation, or don't spell the word right. Does your backspace button work? Nah, just giving you some shit.
Tell 'em what you got.
Beautiful. That's the stuff.
Nice shot.
Reload. You're an artist, mate. You've been waiting for it. A flood of targets.
Alright, come on. Come on. Come on.
Shoot! Quick, hurry!
Shut the fuck up, Ashley.
Are you serious?
Come on, please. Fuck. Also, can you stop? I type too fast and don't read it before I send it. I'm off tonight, so I'm not using speech to text on my phone. Well, I can understand you. No, I'm just kidding. I was gonna say I can understand you more when you're not using speech to
You
text.
got this, Leon. Oh, that was awesome.
That's it. Oh, beautiful. Reload. Superb shot.
Ah! Rushing, you were rushing. Joe can barely read properly spelled messages. Yeah, this is true.
3, 2, 1, begin.
Your boy comments are like hard mode. Professional difficulty. Knife only run.
Are you serious?
I could do this. I just have to put my heart in the cards. And like a scope in my eye or something. Okay, cool, that actually hit. Okay, I got him. Okay, thank God. Fire everything!
Holy cow, Leon, you gotta get him.
Oh shit. That can explode still? No! No, Mr. White! It's only because I talk fast and my phone doesn't understand me unless I speak real slow.
High score, here we come.
Boot! Ain't that a boot? Alright. Please. For the love of fucking God, please.
That was awesome.
Wrong button, wrong button, wrong button. Okay, cool. Oh shit. You fucking bitch. Alright. Dormammu! Come to bargain. A bloody lovely ain't gonna. Wait, oh, sorry. I get him? Okay, cool.
Shot. Look at all of them. Now's your chance. Are you serious?
Oh god.
That was awesome. Good shot.
Yes! I did it. I did it. What do you get for doing all this? These, and then I put them in like one of those like little coin operated things, and you get like little capsules. And then those give me like little perks and bonuses and stuff. I also get bragging rights and a trophy. Or achievement, sorry, man. It's Steam achievements, right? Do you have to read one sentence with a Cockney accent? You have to read the one sentence with a Cockney accent? Which one? Oh, that's bloody lovely, ain't it, governor? Yeah. Oh my god, what? No, this is... No, Mr. White. It's gonna be rough.
3, 2, 1, begin.
Show 'em what you got.
Well, let's just go through it first. I don't know what I'm up against.
Superb shot.
That was awesome.
Keep up that pace.
God, that recoil.
Outstanding. Triple kill. Reload.
Oh god, this isn't enough time. What's next?
You're an artist, mate.
Don't just shoot everything.
That's fine. God damn it. I need the sniper. Oh, wait. Oh shit, he had a skull. No. Oh man, guys, I'm not gonna finish this one.
Keep up that pace. Double kill. Oh, beautiful.
Shit. Oh my god.
Outstanding. And that's the
Okay.
better than expected.
See what I can get first.
Good job, Leon.
Fuck off. This is stuff I already have. Give me something new. Give me something good. Give me something rare. Ooh, it's gold. 40% off resources. I already got it, bitch. Ooh. Oh shit. 20% melee critical. Okay, that's a good one. That's a good one. I just added up the times on streams I did today. It was almost 6 hours. Times on the streams today. How many times did you stream today? I know at least twice. Keep getting the same ones. No, I'm gonna come back to this. I don't want to do it right now. I want to shoot some monsters. In the fucking elevator, Ashley. I streamed more today. Yeah, because your fucking stream kept dying today. That was great.
Hello, stranger.
Dude, it was funny, dude. You had like a steady stream for like 5 hours. That last hour, it was just like, what, 3 crashes? At least 2. Oh, yeah, let me take this off. Steady for 6 hours, then 2 crashes in the last 45 minutes. Wait, how long was your stream today? Okay, which one do I want to get rid of first? So wait, hold on. You're equipped. shotgun crafting, machine gun crafting, and then off resources. I don't really, yeah. This is the only epic one I have, dude. 20% melee critical hit rate. That's what's up. Wait, is this the one? Okay. Tight. Just under 7. Good game though. I had fun watching. No, that won't fit in there. That's what she said. What are your thoughts on what you've seen on this game? Yeah. Doing my crowd control. Looks mostly like the first RE4 with better graphics. I went five times. I went live like 5 times. I was playing different games with the PlayStation. When you switch games, yeah, I noticed it cuts one stream, then goes live again. That's why it shows me going live multiple times. It's because I switched the games. The best of the month game, I had to stop the stream on the one because I had to go to an appointment, or it would have been a long stream. Nice. I'm curious if the red adds value. What happens if I replace the blue? It goes from 73 to 72. Okay. Three to 67. Okay. Oh, damn, dude. What happens if I add like another purple? 5. What happens if I add a third purple? Holy shit. Oh. All right, well, in any case, I think for a color bonus, I should wait for a red, one of these. I don't know what you call the red one, but one of these shapes.
Ooh, you have the stench of battle on you, mate.
Yeah, you got the stench of death. Yeah, the graphics in this game are kind of amazing. I think it's a very good looking game, but there are substantial changes to oh, that's right, to the gameplay. Oh. Man, my friends are gonna be so disappointed. They want me to bring the margarita maker to a party on Saturday, and it's Baroque. It's okay, at least I got it for free. I'll tell everybody at work, like, I got this fucking janky ass margarita maker or blender. Yeah, I don't know why, but it was like leaking. Damn it, Sherry.
Let's find another way.
Shut up, Ashley. Whee. Oh shit. You lived through that? Nah, it's kind of a waste, but whatever. I haven't been using my rifle, unfortunately. Following that. Dude, I can't wait for you to play this and 8. The two you haven't, you know? I think you'll like 8. I don't know what the fuck Ray's ever talking about. 8 is good. Right? Was it Ray or was it the other Retro? Who was shitting on 8 today? So I like to speak to their manager. I think it was Retro. Yeah, dude, 8's awesome. Like he's like the only person I think I heard that disliked it at all. I mean, to each their own, you know. Like what you like. Charlie, oh my god. How you doing? going through some shoddy withdrawals. What the fuck?
You got it.
How's your night going? We can't all be as good as you. Wait, I don't get it. We can't all be as good as you. In what context? I'm sorry. I'm okay. I just showered. That way? Dang. How's your, you feeling okay today? You get some rest? How is you? Proof. Hey! I got my Kool-Aid. See, where the fuck is it? Up there. Oh, there it is. I don't even need it. I don't even need it. I got a laser.
Whoa.
Yeah, what are you up to tonight, sure? Or Audie, sorry. Dude, Shuri is insane right now. I'm feeling alright, trying my best to catch up on sleep when I can. No, I feel it. That's what I should be doing. Oh, maybe I set up a vet appointment or something. Due for a checkup anyway. Wait. Where are you? I put you in that dumpster. Oh. This thing I was worried about got approved. I'm so stoked. Oh, this part. Ashley, you dumb bitch. Oh god.
Ashley.
Oh god. Control! Control!
You hurt?
You will be.
I'm okay.
Okay, cool.
Stay back. Let's go.
Ashley, get over here, Ashley. Yay, good shit. She was asking for it. Every time her getting attacked. Oh yeah, I messaged you. You know the thing I was talking about. Yeah, one got approved. The other one I got approved out. We'll have to see on that. But I'll deal with that tomorrow. And then the Halloween thing got approved. Oh. She only ran into the axe. Yeah. Yeah, Ashley's not the smartest. Oh.
Ashley.
Got it.
Alright, Ashley. Open that door? Yeah, it do. Alright. Ashley, don't get kidnapped while I'm gone, okay? Close that door and lock it, and don't open it until I answer. Unless it's me, okay? Wait. No! Oh my god, I didn't mean to push control. I meant to press shift so I can run. Wait, did she hop over? God damn it, Ashley. She take you nowhere. Alright, thanks, bitch. Can I hop over this? How did you get? Okay, I can with F. We should play Outlast Trials near Halloween. It's spooky and scary. I've actually wanted to try that. One, because I like Outlast 1, but also 2, because I'm too much of a fucking pussy to play 2. 2 genuinely scared the shit out of me. 2 is spoopy.
Ashley.
Damn it already. Where are they? Ashley, you in here? Ashley, where the fuck are you? Leon should be like a guest character in a fighting game, like fucking Soul Calibur or something. But yeah, I'm down. We also have to try Degrees of Separation. Walking Fish 2 for Halloween. Well, I'm very likely not going to stream on Halloween. I have no idea what I'm doing on Halloween.
Yeah.
I could stream, but all my friends are fucking party animals, so I might actually be sucked into some sort of social event, you know? Which is good for the soul. God damn it, I have to have her on the thing. Ashley, don't get kidnapped, you dumbass. Oh, wait, Ashley, come here.
Okay, it's all right.
Bitch, get over here.
Okay.
Spread out.
Okay.
I think you can have up to 4 people for trials. I thought it was 3, but I don't know. You know more than I do because you actually like that game. What's the objective? Like, what is it about? I just remember hearing they have like a multiplayer focused Outlast prequel. Because it does have story. It's got story, right? Maybe I can finally work up the courage to stream Outlast 2. Maybe that's what I'll do. Ah, the parasite! I got ads, 1 sec. Oh, you contracted ads? Damn it. You too. Not you too. Resident Evil Alien Earth. I liked that show quite a bit until the last episode. Like, I get it. You know, this is how you get your money for the next season. And there is a status quo change, but it didn't feel like it resolved anything, you know? Like, if it got canceled, I'd be fucking angry. And I don't think you should ever have a finale that does that, you know what I mean? Unless you're secured a second season. Let's see. That shit pissed me off. Like, all things considered, it was a pretty dope episode, but the fact it was the finale, the whole show is to just fix the timeline to connect it. So there's 2 reasons why I kind of disagree with that. One, the creator said flat out, he's not ignoring canon, but he's not like married to it. He says as long as like the show was good, you know, so he hasn't strictly contradicted anything, but it sounds like he's willing to throw a wrench in there. You know what I mean? 2, the canon's not really broken. The only show that did that and pissed me off was My Name is Earl. Oh, that's because My Name is Earl got canceled. Fuck, dude, that still stinks. I loved My Name is Earl. That show was my jam when it came out. It was like me and my sister. We used to watch that as it aired. We saw Supernatural and Smallville. Like, that was our shit, you know? And Reaper, before that got canceled. Ah, fuck, I miss watching CW and WB with Gabby. Gabby, if you're watching, you're not. I love you. And I miss you. I love you, and I miss you. Prometheus kind of messed it up. How did it mess it up? I disagree. I don't think it messed anything up. It added stuff to the lore, but it didn't contradict anything. Jason Lee. Hey! That's fine. I've been gooning to Ada every time she shows up. Yeah, My Name is Earl needs 1 hour-long episodes. It needs a movie. Give us a fucking movie. Can you imagine? Anyway, the objective of the Outlast trials is to survive and complete a series of deadly trials by completing twisted objectives while evading and hiding from enemies. Players can play solo or in a co-op team of up to 4. The ultimate goal is to survive the horrific experiments conducted by Murkoff Corporation. Get you graded every trial. Okay, cool. After every trial. But yeah, I don't think Prometheus messed anything up. And I'm not on the Prometheus hate train. I think Prometheus was good. Because the thing is, people like to magically act like fucking, like scientists just got dumb in Prometheus. No. People have been dumb in that entire franchise. Maybe one has an excuse, like Alien. because you know there's literal corporate, you know, bullshit happening and like double agents kind of, you know. Actually, I wouldn't call him a double agent. Ash was a company man. Prometheus was good, but it does have a couple of script issues. Didn't go off the rails until the sequel. Yeah, Covenant did some crazy shit. But I don't think it contradicts anything. I don't think it broke the time. I like Prometheus, though. Oh shit, I wasn't paying attention.
One more time.
Hold on. Hey, what up, Bryn? I like Prometheus, though Alien Covenant was... Like, I like parts of Covenant. I liked how violent it was. But the story was kind of, you know, yeah. And I thought it was well acted. Like, I didn't know Danny McBride can act. But I did like the gore. Like, I liked the backburst. That's a core memory of the franchise for me. I hated Covenant. That's fine. The black goo. What about the black goo? You need to explain. Don't get me wrong. Yeah. The last trial you have to do is strictly solo to be able to leave Murkoff. Oh shit. Now, is this a thing where I have to like betray my team and get out or something? Is that spoiler? Also, we should probably find a team unless you just want to co-op it. Never demystify the scary thing. I mean, I don't know. To me, they kind of stopped being. I mean, they're still scary monsters. I like knowing where things come from. Like, I understand. And I think even Jay's expressed this. The origin of stuff kind of takes away, right? You know, from the mystery. I don't know. I like the world building. I like knowing where they came from. Also, I love David as a character. David's awesome. David's, you know, he's like a mad scientist robot with daddy issues and a god complex. Like, I don't know. He's cool. David's all right. You know, the movie around him was a mixed bag. But like, dude, like I said, when that tail whipped and knocked that dude's jaw off, I was like, God damn. And then the back burst, and then the mouth burst. That alien said, I'm getting out. The black goo is a central plot point that causes genetic mutations and creations, but also raises more questions than answers. I mean, what questions? I feel like you can infer a lot. It was a weapon. And then, even then, and this is helping your case, I guess. It's not in the movies, but James Cameron has gone a bit more to talk about the black goo and the motivations of the engineers. Like, basically, they were pissed at us, so they wanted to wipe the slate clean, and I think that's what the goo was going to be used for. Because apparently Jesus was a hybrid engineer, like he was half engineer, half human. Which Mary's got some splaining to do. No. The game just makes you do the last one by yourself. Oh, okay. There's been a couple updates since the last time I played, so I have no idea what's new or not. But you like it, and did you beat it? You could beat it, right? Is there like credits? Is there an end game? Is there story? Actually. Sorry for all the questions. All right, hold on. I got this. Ooh, wah! Oh, okay. I didn't realize it would like delay. I don't know. I'm a big Alien fan. I don't love all of them, but I do enjoy them all to an extent, you know? I don't think any of them break the canon. I don't think any of them really contradict anything. And AVP isn't canon to the Alien movies. I think it's generally accepted that the Alien versus Predator movies are canon to Predator. But they're not canon to the Alien franchise, you know what I mean? You beat it if you succeed last trial. I haven't been able to do it by myself. But you have to do it by yourself. Tell you what, give me the controller. I'll beat it for you. AVP movies are so fucking shit. Yeah, they're retarded, but like, they're fun. I think they're fun. Like, they're bad movies. They're not good. I wouldn't recommend them to anybody. But like I said, this is one like just jiggle jiggle. Jiggle jiggle. And I'm like, they're not fun. I find them fun. Oh shit.
Get back.
Bitch, get in the
Freaking monster!
Get in the fucking.
Stay here.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh shit, Ashley! Woo! Hold on, I'll argue with you guys in a minute. Not argue, but you know what I mean. Okay. Oh, I saw a comment. It was just me shilling out for merch. Buy that merch. Oh shit!
Die, you stubborn son of a bitch.
Ah! Motherfucker! Is that enough? Was that enough? It wasn't enough. Oh my god! Will you fucking... Okay. Any more? Okay, I think we're good.
Jesus.
Oh god.
Ugly bastard.
It's scary. So this is 75,000, 100,000. I knew it was worth it to wait. I almost sold it. I almost sold it. All right, bitch, come.
You're not hurt, are you?
No, I'm good. Get that lever.
No problem.
Now, go. So, here's the thing also. Just a random thing. You know, I get it. I get it. They're not good movies. I'm just saying they're kind of guilty pleasures, like in a stupid way. I will say, I think Alien vs. Predator Requiem, when you can see it, like I kind of want to go in there and just adjust the fucking gamma myself, but it has some of the coolest kills in the franchise. It's basically like fucking, it's got the formula of like a slasher, you know, it's Friday the 13th with fucking aliens and Predator in it, but what are you doing? Stop it! God damn it, Shay. I saw both in theaters, almost walked out. I saw both in theaters, set my ass down. But yeah. Sorry, I was gonna say, yeah. I love how fucking brutal Requiem is. Like, there's some dope kills, and they had the balls to kill the fucking TNA dude. That's like a slasher sin. Like, do you think it's gonna be a final girl? No, let's cut her in half halfway through the movie. I was like, fuck. Yeah. And then when they drop the alien blood on the bully's face, and he's just like, and you see his face dissolving until it hits his brain, and he just drops dead. Like, shit like that, you know, like jiggle, 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 you know. Predator Killer Killers was dope. Predator Killer Killers was dope. Actually, I think that's underrated. I think it's good. It's good. I like anthology movies too, but I don't know. I thought that was really well done. All right.
Okay. We go at the same time.
Yeah, okay.
Gotti.
Okay.
But yeah. AVP. Bad movies, kind of fun to me. I get it. You don't like it. Most people don't like them. Like, I know they're not good. I wouldn't recommend them. I just want to be clear on that. But there's something about having the balls to have a kid chest burst, cutting the love interest in half. I love that shit. More.
No power.
Oh fuck. Oh god damn it. I remember this part. This is... Oh, I remember this part. Oh, that's like perfect. I should probably craft rifle ammo. Oh wait, what? God damn it! I rested my finger on the right click, right mouse button. Because I think there's more regenerators coming up.
Get this
All
for
right,
me.
bitch, do it.
Leave it to me. I'm actually pretty good at this stuff.
You good at doing what you're fucking told. All right, please.
Ashley.
I didn't mean to bump into you. Half funding in this game, it's good unless it's with her apparently. All right, I remember getting not stuck here, but I was like, fuck, bitch, stop getting caught. And I think there's rats. Also, did I do the all 5 out of 5? Okay. Jay, did you see Alien Romulus yet? I know it's not much to say, but I do think that is one of the best Alien movies we got, period. You know? I just love how everything keeps escalating in that fucking movie. Just like, speaking of crossovers, did you ever hear of the movie where Pinhead was fighting against Michael Myers that was proposed? Yeah, I do. I'm glad it got canceled or not picked up. like because they would have done like the whole Cult of Thorn shit with Michael Myers, which is one of the dumbest additions that series did. No, honestly, I'm not very into the Alien franchise. I'm only a big fan of the original Alien. Oh shit! Oh, I didn't know that. I love Alien franchise, so I guess that's where that is. All right, fair enough. If it's not your thing, you're not a fan. The first Alien is fantastic, a masterpiece even. I've seen them all except Romulus in the TV show. Yeah, I remember you saying you're never going to watch the TV show, and I was curious, but yeah, if you're just not a fan, then I get it. You're fine. They're just mostly mid. All right, the gloves are off now. All right, fucking, god damn it. No. Romulus is good. I like the vibes of 3 and the design, and there was like a fan re-edit of it that I thought was kind of dope. Like, they fixed the graphics. We did it. Are you going to try argue 3 Resurrection AVP or not mid? You are crazy. No, I'm not. Like I was saying, I can acknowledge their faults, even though I still enjoy them for various reasons. Like I said, 3, I like the design of the alien, and then I like the mood. It's a very moody movie. I didn't give a shit about the Hicks and Newt thing like everybody else did. Fuck them. How do I get in there? Yeah, I remember Dog Xenomorph or Ox, depending on the cut you get. But yeah, I was gonna say. So the thing with that is, I think they spliced in some deleted scenes and they fixed a lot of the graphics. It's not the assembly cut. Alien 3 fan fix. Let's actually own it. I will own. I think you could buy the Blu-ray, but I have a download. Yeah, whatever. It's in my downloads. I actually wanted to do a movie night for it. I would say Prometheus is second best, and then Aliens. I don't really like anything else. If you like Aliens, I think you would like Romulus, but you know, no pressure. You're fine. But Romulus is good. Romulus is good. I'm not saying that just as like kind of like an annoying fanboy. I think it was a good movie. Fede Alvarez is just like a flair for, you know, fucked up. Like there's a part, it's in the trailer, so it's not a spoiler per se, but there's a part where a face hugger gets taken off, and then like the tube, I guess it was all the way, because like you hear about it, you know, but all you ever see is like the little weenus, the little, but no, they pull it out and it's just like it's a long ass tube, and it's got like the goo on it. It was fucking gross. It's fucking gross. Romulus was decent. I think it was more than decent. I think it's like, I think it's better than Prometheus. I don't know if that's blasphemous. It could be. Probably is. Yeah, we got that one, we got that one, and we got that one. Let me just try the red just to see. Oh, those are purple. Oh, I gotta match colors. Yeah, fuck. I gotta find purple, or green. All right, I'll hold on to that for now. I'm nervous. Bitch, come. I tend to get annoyed by nostalgia baiting, and most of the reviews I read and watched the Romulus was no substance and all member berries. I don't know about no substance, but there are a couple member berry drops. I'm not gonna lie, they do work the line into the script, like in what I think is a natural way for the character even, but you know, we know what they were doing. It's literally one line, and then oh dude, there is one thing. I know the thing that they're talking about too. Every Alien movie does it. Every Alien movie does it. So I think that is a dumb argument. The thing that I think they're talking about. There's one line that's like a callback. You probably guess it. And then there's a thing that happens at the end that every Alien movie does. It's like Resident Evil, you know? I don't get mad at them for having the countdown and a helicopter exit. God damn it. Where's the rat? Already?
Ashley, damn it.
Where are you? I can't see shit. Wait, is there a regenerator? Ah, god damn it. Ashley! Hold on. Wait, are you being taken, Ashley? Hold on. I can't do this right now.
Shit.
Actually, I gotta give you a fucking pocket knife or something. Fuck.
Hey.
Oh my god. Get back here. No! Wait, don't leave with the Ashley. Put her down. Put the bitch down. Are you still alive? Oh my god, Ashley, you fucking bitch. Oh, dude, fucking... Okay, I got him. Got him. Ashley, wait, I'll be right there. Explode already. Alright, cool. Alright, ready yet? Go. Alright, leave fucking Ashley alone, bastard. Ashley, let me the fuck over. Sorry, I'm cussing a lot. That was kind of stressful. Oh, you're good.
I'm good, thanks.
Problem, sugar tits. I gotta go this way. You go that way, I'll go home. I'm actually kind of low on like shotgun ammo and shit. Or no. Oh. Bonus! Fuck yeah, dude. I like to see, baby.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
I forget anything over there? Okay, I like how I check after I leave. Do you think I have a shot with Ashley? Probably. I don't see why not. She seems like she doesn't care about looks. She seems nice. I want her to cheer me on while I play video games. Yeah. She is nice in that regard. So, okay, so I know Jason's your favorite slasher, and we both agree that Jason Lives is the, like, by far the best one. What other slashers are you into? You kind of strike me as like a Texas Chainsaw guy. I think you might like only like... Okay. I know you like Freddy to an extent. I actually think most of Freddy's movies suck. The only ones I actually thoroughly enjoy are 1, I think 2 is kind of underrated. 3 is my favorite one next to New Nightmare. And then Freddy vs. Jason, just because that's stupid and fun. Oh wait, and Jason X. And Jason Goes to Hell. kinda. I'm trying to think. Like, I know you like Scream. I like Chucky. I think you like Chucky enough, but you're not as much of a fan. Oh shit, there's more rats in there? Fuck. I pretty much agree with you on the Freddy movies. Jason X and Jason Goes to Hell are not... Oh, wait. Sorry, I got excited. No, you're right. But you know what I mean. Like that. All right, I'm gonna go back and find that last rat. God damn it. Is it too late? Yeah, you got me. Jason X is so good. I don't know about so good, but it's fucking fun. That's a fun movie, right? Like it's so stupid. Like I think that's the best of the in space thing that horror does every now and then. It's fun, but I consider it low tier for the Freddy or Jason Friday the 13th. Want to smoke some pot? Want to smoke some pot and have premarital sex? They take their shirts off. We love premarital sex. Man, I thought the brown one was kind of cute too. I was like, come back. And then it cuts back to them. He's beating them up in the fucking sleeping bag. Ah, good old Jason. It's funny. My mom is such a pussy. We saw it in theaters and she was jumping. I was like, Ma, this ain't scary. What are you doing? Go watch the fucking Scorpion King. Because I think that was out at the same time. Bangs around a tree and sleeping bag. Yeah. Right, where's that last rat? Oh, get back here. All right, cool.
Okay.
Gotti. Let's go turn that shit in. Yeah, it's lower tier. But it's also kind of like unique for the series, at least. It's a good time. That fucking liquid nitrogen kill. That's like a series highlight. That's a good one. Oh yeah, they totally capitalized on the fact that it's in space for their kills too, which I appreciate.
Okay.
He totally grabs her breast now, saying, "Yeah, he does." He's like, and then yeah. I don't think there are any bad Jason movies, but I put Jason at the bottom with bottom 3 with 5 and 7. 7's a New Blood, right? And then 8 is Manhattan, and then 9's Goes to Hell. I think I put it above those. Honestly, and I think I've said this before, and you kind of hated it. I like it more than 3. Then yeah, it's where he gets the mask. But I don't know. Because like that middle run outside of Jason Lives, it's kind of like just super formulaic. 3 is top 3 for me. I love it. I love that for you. It's like mid tier for me. Like it's not lower. It's not bad. Like I kind of agree with you. There are no bad ones. There aren't any that aren't enjoyable, but there's some that I like more than others. 6, 4, 3 in my top 3. Oh shit, nice. Mine's probably 6. 4 is really good. Die! Die! Tommy! Die! If you ever hear me yell die, I'm directly quoting Jason 4 or Friday 4 or whatever. You like Jason X. I actually really like Freddy vs. Jason as far as Jason movies go. And then honestly, I think the remake that they did, reboot, whatever, the Tommy Jarvis trilogy would be goated without 5 shitting it up. I don't hate 5. I think 5 had good kills. I just think they focused on titties over like gore, and I'm like, fuck, you know? There's a good movie in there, and I do kind of hate the fake out.
Well done.
But you know, I don't know. But yeah, I do like the Jarvis trilogy. But yeah, I was gonna say, I think the remake for that, if you want to call it a remake, you know what I mean when I say it. I think it's good. I think it was a good remake. It's certainly better than the fucking Friday one. I mean, Nightmare. I don't give a fuck. I don't want Friday 13th with no Jason. Yeah, no, I get it. That's what I'm saying. Like, as a movie, I actually kind of dug it. Because you know the deal with that one, right? They did the thing that they wanted to do with Halloween, where they were like, okay, we want, like, other stuff, too. So we're going to kill off this one and make a new threat, you know? I think that's what they wanted to do. But everybody was just, like, table flipping, which I understand. So yeah, they got rid of him.
I'll buy almost.
You can't start that with the 5th fucking movie. Dumb. Yeah. Well, they tried to do that with Halloween, right? It's like after the 2nd movie, they're like, okay, let's do a part 2, and then let's kill Michael, and then nobody liked it.
Stranger. Ooh, I'll pay a pretty penny.
I do. Never mind. You're gonna hate this. I don't want to say it. 3 kind of grew on me. Halloween 3. I don't love it, but I don't hate it like I used to. As a franchise, I kind of hate Candyman, but I love Candyman 1, and I really like the new one. Oh, I gotta catch this bitch. Damn it, girl. Yeah, I hate Halloween 3, not because it's different, because it's bad.
Nice catch.
It's just a bad movie in general. I don't know, I thought it was a pretty harmless, goofy 80s horror. But I totally understand people's complaints with it. Like I'm saying, it kind of grew on me. I don't know if it was... Honestly, that might be cope. Let's see. All right, Ashley, you're gonna have to... It's like a low-tier episode of The Twilight Zone. Actually, that'd be... I can see that. I can actually see that being a Twilight Zone episode with like the mask and the company and the witchcraft and shit.
Leon. Look.
Favorite Twilight Zone episode? Go. Mine is the... It's not fair. It's not fair. I like that one with Burgess Meredith and the glasses. Living Doll's good, and then the one with the ugly pig people. The Beauty's in Eye of the Beholder. I think that's what it's called. I like that one. And then what's the one with the aliens and the power outage? Sorry. I used to watch a lot of Twilight Zone. With my grandma.
A wrecking ball.
Came in like a wrecking ball.
I got this.
Oh, but yeah. Give me some more of your favorite horror movies. Like, typically franchises. Like the one with the helicopter crash. That's fucked up. That's pretty savage.
Is this what they teach kids in school these days?
Have you never heard of driver's ed?
That's pretty good.
You're back.
What was I gonna say? But yeah. What other horror franchises that you're a fan of? And I would say you have to like most, not all of them. Like Nightmare. My favorite's Friday the 13th and Evil Dead. Fuck, I knew that. I'm so mad.
Leave our friends to me.
Oh shit. Oh boy. Oh shit, what are you doing, Ashley? Sue it! Aw, I thought I could get you. I kind of want to stream a couple of the Evil Dead games. I don't want to ever play Hail to the King because that game sucks cock aggressively. But I think A Fistful of Boomstick and in particular Regeneration or Degeneration. Is it Regeneration? I think it's Regeneration. Those are fun. Oh shit. Oh shit. Hold on, Ashley. God damn it. I consider number 1 to be a masterpiece, 10 out of 10. So there's two ways that I think my brain works on here. It's like Rotten Tomatoes. There's a critic score and then there's the audience score. I understand and I acknowledge and appreciate Nightmare for its originality and all that. 3's still my favorite one. And New Nightmare is like up there. Like New Nightmare is like just fucking like a little millimeter down. Night, Day, and Dawn are up there with the best of all time, but mostly suck shit. But Land of the Dead is pretty fun. Yeah, Land of the Dead's fucking stupid, but I do like that one. Land of the Dead's fun. I'm glad you like that. I wouldn't have guessed that. I feel like you'd call it mid and hate it. Fuck, I didn't mean to do that again. Oh shit, wait. Oh shit, I think I got him. He's dead? Are you dead? No, he's not dead. Now he's dead, bitch. It's mid, but that's not always bad. No, I know. I mostly give you shit and argue semantics. I know mid's not bad. Mid's mid. Mid's passing, right? Mid's like a C. And C's get degrees. Ashley, please don't hit me with that. Where'd everybody go? Am I that good? I remember this being a lot trickier. I mean, I'm not that good, which is why I'm questioning it. There we go. Here they come. Ahí está.
Sorry. Must have slipped.
No thanks, bro. Return of the Living Dead 1 is in my top 10 favorite movies. Wow, not just horror, but favorite movies. 2 and 3 are nowhere near as good, but they are guilty pleasures. I like to, you know what's funny? Growing up, I saw these young, dude. I saw these like Reanimator and Bride of Reanimator are great. After that is bad. What's the third one called? Beyond Reanimator? Is that right? But wait, I just break wall with grenades. Oh, that's fine. I'm collecting resources and shit. Beyond, I think, yeah, it's Beyond. Return of the Living Dead 1 is great. Also love that cemetery scene. You know what I'm talking about. 2 gave me nightmares when I was a kid. 2 was the first one I saw, by the way. For me, I was young when I got the concept of a zombie. I was like 5 and I was playing zombies at my neighbor, right? And I remember playing it and I'm like, you're dead? You know, like it just, like my brain clicked and I saw the swarm of them. It freaked me out. And then the first time I saw Return of the Living Dead 2, I got legit nightmares. And then Day of the Dead. I saw those too young, I think, like 5, 6. My mom didn't give a shit, dude. Yeah, those were fun ones. 3's kind of good. 3's some dope kills. I like the originality of it.
You know that. I hope you do.
Oh, what up, buddy? Thanks. I'm proud of you too. What was I gonna say? Oh shit! Watch out for the dead bodies, because these things are gonna reanimate them. See what I did there? Oh shit. Oh shit. Hold on, let me kill these guys and I'll read chat. God. Okay, hold on. I'm gonna try to sleep, Shoddy. All right, well, good night and good morning, good looking. I'll text you after stream if you're up still. We'll see. Good night. There's a bunch of franchises that start great for 2 or 3 movies and go to shit, like Saw or Final Destination. Here's the thing. Final Destination 4 sucks. That Final Destination 5 is pretty good. I think that was like actually like a really great return to form. It feels more like the first movie than most, you know? Because 2 and 3 became just like gore fest. 4 was just like retarded, and then 5 felt like 1 again. You know? Did you see 5? And then I think Bloodlines is pretty good. But I absolutely hate 4. Final Destination 4 pissed me off. Terrifier is on the cusp of greatness, but every one of them seems to be holding it back. I saw 5, remember nothing about it, and watch it again. And I thought 3 was the weakest yet. Yeah, 3 is my least favorite. I enjoy them all, but 3 is weak. I think 2 is the best one in general, but if they would have shaved like a good 30 minutes, 20 to 30 minutes off of that thing, it would have been goated, dude. I know what they're going for with like that metaphysical dream nightmare shit, but like, cut it out, you know? Enough. When do you get in there, or do I just go?
That was awesome.
They were saved by the mall bomb scene. Without that, I might have actually disliked it. I can see that. I don't fault you for that. There have been sightings of what appears to be a strange corpse wandering around, likely the result of some immoral experiment. Won't someone put it out of its misery and end its pathetic existence? Defeat the strong threat incubation lab. Oh, I gotta backtrack again. I hated that they made Ard the sidekick. The other demon was lame. Oh, you know what? I actually kind of forgot about that. Yeah, I actually forgot about that. Is this the right way? Incubation lab. Okay, this is the shortcut. Right. Incubation lab. I think this is the incubation lab. I just don't know which is which. Oh, okay, there it is. All right, Ashley. Hope you're ready. Damn, I didn't think you'd still be live after my late night sushi. Late night sushi? I want sushi.
Hello, stranger. Welcome.
Yeah, honestly, I should quit soon, but I'm having a lot of fun. I want to at least finish this chapter, and then we'll see. I kind of lost track of time. I didn't even know it was past midnight. I'm just enjoying talking about horror movies and shit.
Welcome.
I should probably wait on this one just for now. I will tune up here. That's what matters. Yeah, I mean, well, tomorrow I'll be like, by like 1 p.m. I'm like,
Give that the care it deserves, mate. Try that on for size. See how that feels, mate. A fella like yourself should notice the difference right away. Dazzled, are you? Come back.
I've lost everything. Now let's go fuck that motherfucker up. Oh. This way? No. Oh, there actually might be regenerators in here. I don't think I killed all of them. I have like the worst sense of direction. Jay, you know, it was really refreshing when you said you also have a bad sense of direction in video games. You know who's the exact opposite? Deadwolf. Deadwolf has like a sixth sense. Shit, let me craft some more. Can I? Yeah, buddy. Yeah, I do. Dryos gives me shit about it. I'm glad it's not just me. Ashley, can you hide somewhere? Hold on, let me see.
Stick close.
No.
Okay.
Stay away.
You're good.
Okay.
Let's see. This motherfucker got fucking all the parasites. Oh god! Don't you slither. Okay, I got him. Ashley, take cover. Is he dead? Oh, that wasn't so hard. Sweet. Was that it? Watch that not be it. Let me check the map. Yeah, we did it. What are you up to now, Angel? Welcome back. I didn't know you left. Thank you for the lurk. I appreciate that. Oh shit, there's... Oh, that's right. I couldn't find it because it was like under... Like it fell off the map or some shit. Thank you, thank you. Thank you. What'd you get for sushi? What's your favorite kind? Tell me all about it.
Well, look at you, mate. What can I interest you in?
What are you buying? Oh, 40. God damn.
My back is an interesting choice. Well, pleasant travels.
Yeah, I want to at least finish this
Shut up,
chapter.
bitch!
Oh shit. No, you. Salmon the yellowtail nigiri. It's censored nigiri? That's funny, dude. That is amazing. I had to... nigiri got auto-modded. But yeah, salmon the yellowtail are also my favorite. Those are pretty basic choices, as Jay would say. She forgot the second eye. Oh, the exclamation points made me think that wasn't I. Wait, this... Oh. Nigiri? Hold on. No, she spelled it right. You forgot the E. No. Oopsies. No, you spelled it right. You spelled it right. He was making a joke. Oh, she didn't. Yeah, she did. Nigiri. Oh shit! Yeah, you put Nigri. Oh, that's funny. Okay. Goddamn. This is gonna be my newest variation of the word. Nigri.
You know, I was thinking.
10 out of 10.
We work well together, don't we?
I guess so.
Right? Maybe someday I'll become an agent like you.
Yeah, Ashley, wouldn't it be just crazy if we...
You're no fun.
You know, when she says, maybe when we get back, we can go for some overtime, and he says, no thanks, bro. And I'm like, bruh, what are you fucking doing? We're in. What are you, stupid? Do you have that much of a hard on for Ada? I've sent my right hand after you. Your right hand comes off. Ooh. Oh, I know where this is. Transporting the amber. I must stress the use of extreme caution when handling the amber deposits from underneath the castle. Work with the utmost respect and obedience. It is imperative that you do not disturb the holy body's slumber. That's gonna disturb your holy chin. Or should I say these holy nuts? I'm gonna disturb your chin. I should have said. Give me that jet dry. I don't want to stop playing. I just want to, like, play this till the end of time right now, you know? Superior Species Report. Dearest Lord Sadler, I'm overjoyed to report wonderful news. Production of the superior species of Las Plagas is officially underway. If all goes accordingly, rest assured that we will reach our ultimate goal. The Plaga is a truly magnificent organism and has the capacity to live in any vertebrate, be it human, dog, even crow. What? Those things are big, though. Oh, I guess they start off with like the little embryo, right? There is no other parasite like it on Earth. The superior species is particularly impressive as it can assimilate with a host without causing any damage to the brain. No one can oppose the strength of your dominance, my lord. On the contrary, who would resist once they experience the utter joy and accompanies the absence of free will? Jesus Christ. I'm living proof how ignorant I was. I guess ignorance is bliss. In a few days, I will have finished administering the Plaga to all the high-ranking researchers, and they too shall know. And when your plan is complete, the whole world shall know. Annabelle Garcia Escudero, head researcher. Oh shit, I'm gonna go back. I missed one. Ashley, you blind bitch, why didn't you tell me? Also, I don't think I found the little Salazar statue this time. Look at the little Plagas. A fucking mean little animal right there.
Prostrate yourself.
Prostrate?
This is our holy
You wanna check my prostrate?
Our divine providence ensued. Such profound blessing for all. Los Plaga.
Los Plaga.
Welcome, my children. I am Osman Sadler, the speaker for our Lord.
Tell someone who gives a shit.
Nice.
Foolish lambs.
Fucking
Why
bastard.
didn't I agree? Now, abandon your body. Obey. Obey the voice of our Lord.
Ashley, no. Nice.
Sweet child, do not resist.
Damn, she good. Yeah, even with the shaky hand and resisting, those are good shots. Oh, you're lucky. Thank God I didn't reload.
Pray forgive these wicked sinners. My faithful disciples shall deliver to you your penance. Now, child, you need not be afraid. Submit your body and release yourself from fear.
Is this the end of the chapter? I was hoping to finish this tonight. I don't think I will. Very likely I'll finish it tomorrow. Friday. I'm excited. And then I don't know how long the DLC is. Does anybody know? How long is Separate Ways 2023?
Sadler, you bastard.
You fucking asshole. Alright, let's go. Oh shit.
All right.
Tight, tight, tight. Oh shit, I forgot to press E. Have another fish to eat or some shit? Oh yeah, let me move over there. Nice, yo, Mr. White. I can't stop saying that. It's not even funny. I don't know why it's stuck in my head. I haven't seen Breaking Bad in like fucking, I don't know, fucking 9 years, 11 years, whenever it ended. Yeah, return. On button. Yo! Gold bar, large. Jay, still there? We'll talk about horror movies some more. Ask me something. Yep. Oh, nice, nice, nice. Operation Javier, few people have heard the name, even within the highest ranks of government, U.S. government. And little wonder too, the operation was not made public. It was conducted in secret and then buried. The reason being, it was too inhumane. It all started back in 2002 when a small unit of U.S. Special Forces were sent on to infiltrate an area in South America. Their whole mission was to eradicate the drug cartels. The whole operation took several years to prepare for, and only the most elite soldiers were selected to participate. What's your favorite hentai? When I did watch it, you know, we were all kids once. I was hoping you asked me something about horror, but from what I remember, I forgot what it was called. It was only because of the boob physics. It was like something like, is it Made or something like that? What the fuck was it called? It had like actually impressive animation, and that helped. Does that answer your question? It was here, I'll Google it. Lady Innocent? Alright, yeah, that one. Your homework. I don't know if the mission was a failure or not, but I do not know the fate of those elite soldiers once it was over. Apparently the entire unit was wiped out except for the commanding officer, Major Krauser? And not by the cartels, but by the US. By us. It shouldn't have been difficult to extract a single stranded unit. All it would have taken was a single helicopter. For some reason, the military didn't act. Rumors say that the decision was the outcome of a power struggle among the top brass. Others say it was a directive from the former president himself. But we may never know the truth since it was all covered up. But I am certain of one thing. The US government let those people die. Brave, young people who dedicated their lives to protect their country. I want to expose this crime, not because of my responsibility as a reporter, but because my duty as a fellow American. Note 1. This document concerns Operation Javier and was written by an American journalist named blah blah. Note 2. This article will never be published. It has already been taken care of. Browser? I don't know what they're talking about. What's your favorite hentai? Space. I'm waiting. Yeah. Phase 1. Depart from the campus within... Depart from campus with the target 2. Or no. Escort the target as usual until the start of phase 2. There should be 3 others inside the vehicle, including Baker. Baker? You can't say Baker, because I think of Resident Evil 7. Abel's unit will follow behind you in a separate vehicle. You need to drive your normal route. What's hentai? You son of a bitch. Phase 2. Stop the vehicle under the pretense of engine trouble. Transfer the target to Abel's vehicle. Phase 3. Abel's unit will change course. Subdue and restrain the target. Place a target in a large container. They put it in a container? Baker's unit will create a diversion. Henry's unit will infiltrate the investigations database and disable the network. Phase 5. Meet at point K9 and transfer the cargo onto the ship. Ask me something about spookies. Oh, I want to talk spooky. That's not what I wanted to hit.
Done well to make it this far, rookie. I've prepared a battlefield up ahead just for us soldiers. Watered by the blood of generations, hundreds of
I don't know what to ask. Nah, it's fine.
It's the perfect place to put an end to what happened 2 years ago.
Oh, wait, I'm going the right way. I think I'm supposed to follow this. Yeah, I'm gonna go back actually because I didn't check out everything that was up there. What's your #1 favorite off 80s horror film? No sequels? Oh, okay. Like just a one. That's a good question actually. Like no sequels, no prequels. You know, so The Thing don't count, right? Because I would say The Thing. They got a prequel. Ooh, dude, this is a good question. I can't really think of any right now. Because they're all fucking milked to death. I have to think about this. This is a good question. See, this is the shit I'm talking about, dude. One 80s horror movies. I'm fucking up. All right, let's see. That didn't turn into a franchise. Ah, fuck. The Fly got a sequel. Oh, shit. Wait. Fuck. Oh, dude, there's some good ones here. I'm a sucker for Killer Clowns from Outer Space. But I also adore the remake of The Blob. You know? It's a good question, dude. Right Knight got a sequel. Fuck. Fog got a remake? I would count that. Scanners turned into a franchise. Return of the Living Dead. Is there a Chopping Mall too? That was fun. There's like a million Puppet Masters and they're still making them. Dude, honestly, part of me wants to say the Blob remake. I really like that movie. That's a tough question, you bastard. Hard-hitting question. In the moment, this is subject to change if I think of anything else. Prince of Darkness. I haven't seen it. I haven't seen Prince of Darkness, and I haven't seen At the Mouth of Madness, which I heard a lot of people say is their favorite Carpenter movie. It's on my list. I just haven't gotten around to it. Pre-request redevelopment of the island is well underway. Weapons on the defense, weapons and other defensive equipment have been set up to guard against any outside intruders. By the time we are finished, the island will be our giant fortress. These defenses won't hold up long term, but they should last until we carry out our plan. And once accomplished, we'll be that much closer to our ultimate goal of world domination. None will be able to resist our power. Jack Krauser. So not Jack Krauser. Prince of Darkness is your favorite one-off? I want to see it. I'm gonna make that like a movie night priority whenever I do get the time to do those again. Which I miss. I miss movie nights. Off the top of my head, I couldn't think of any off the top of my head. That's the problem. I had to look at like 80s movies over here. Yeah, House got a sequel. I think House got a couple sequels. There's like 4 Basket Cases. The Gate got a sequel. Now the Demons got a sequel. Hellraiser got too many sequels. Wait, what the fuck? Okay, I thought the game crashed for a second. Yeah, in this moment, I would have to go with The Blob, 1989, whenever that movie came out. That's a fun one. I would like a sequel, but you know, it's too little, too late right now. Nowadays, movies come out with like just I don't know. There's no soul. Movies don't have soul anymore. Let's go get that Krauser. Let's go find that Krauser. Oh wait, is this the Krauser chapter? I don't think I'll be able to finish it. Fuck. I'll finish it. Where'd that crow at? I hear you. Into the chopper mic shit. There's mines and shit, I think.
Gun rhymes with fun for a reason, stranger.
Yeah, that's funny the 8th time too.
Well then, what can I do you for? Ruby's all rubbish, it makes. Thank you. Give that the care it deserves.
That's a good question. I'm actually gonna think about this like after the fact.
That's about all I can do.
That's what I'm gonna save up for now.
All the pleasant travels.
Also, fun fact, this knife is the one that Marvin gives you. It's the same knife from the RE2 remake. Whee! Oh wait, is there anything up there? Fuck.
I've been waiting for you, rookie.
Krauser's like a Metal Gear villain.
Worried about the girl, is that it? That's just like you.
He's
You always had poor judgment.
Serrated Barracuda. Something like that, I don't know.
You're even more naive than I thought. You can't save her. You can't save anyone.
Give it up, Krauser. Being a lackey for these maniacs won't bring your men back. And what the hell for?
Yeah, that music sounds like Evil Dead.
Government? You think they would want that?
Revenge. You think I'm doing all this for revenge?
Isn't that what this is all about?
It's like you don't even know me at all.
In that jungle, I had a revelation. The most important thing in this world is pure, unadulterated
Power.
Money. What? Oh shit.
Most Illuminados have given me that.
You know, you were always an asshole. But at least you had some kind of code. Some honor. Look at you now.
Enough reminiscing. Move out and draw fire, soldier!
Oh shit.
Better run, rookie!
Not like I have a choice.
Don't you dare!
What's wrong? Show no
Oh.
mercy!
Oh shit, that was cool. Wait, oh shit, you're over here now.
You're slow and so goddamn weak.
Wait, what the fuck, dude? I thought, you know, we meleeed before. I thought we were gonna do that. Same shit. No? Go over here, I'm trying to fucking knife you. Sweat! Where'd you go? Get down here. You're cheating! You're cheating! Fucking asshole. Behind me? Where you at?
You better hustle. Who knows what's become of the girl?
Fuck you. Oh, we got the little, like that Mexican pinwheel thing that you put hot sauce on. That's what it looks like. I'm gonna fight this motherfucker over here, aren't I? Yup. Wait, Krauser. See boxes. Let me break the boxes first. What do you mean? Ooh, nice. Jay, are you really trying to stay up till 3? If so, why? Is it just the old sleep schedule now?
You remember the fight in the jungle? You barely made it out alive.
Go with your gut, don't think. That was
Y'all
the
go to
first thing
sleep?
you taught me.
Shh. Yeah. We all have neighbors that can keep us up, you know?
He's turned this place into one big trap. I can't fight him on his terms.
Motherfucker. Sweat. I get him. Sleep is just me just entering the body. You know what's funny? I almost read that as entering the lobby, which I think I liked more.
Ready to die, rookie.
Oh shit, dude. You son of a bitch. How do I get past this part though? Did I just shoot it? Can it hurt me? Oh, grenade. Is that what it wants me to do? Probably wrong, but I'm gonna do it anyway. Gotti. Wait, what? What? Where? Oh shit! Ah! Wait, I wasn't ready. That's temporary too, isn't it? Don't these things like get back up? In it. Oh, are they dead? Okay.
I'm no stranger to covert tactics, remember?
How can I forget? Shit.
Where is he? Oh. I thought that was a stupid little beret sticking out. shit! That's one of my favorite emotes that I have. Son of a bitch.
Still alive, huh? You got lucky.
I learned from the best. Oh. Hey, Krauser, fuck off for a second. Let me get some shit. Do you mind? I'll wait for me to need some space or some ammo or something. Especially since knife battle mostly. Fuck. Is that it? That is it. Ah! You cunt! Fuck off!
I admit, you've done well to stay alive this long.
I'd be dead if I kept listening to people like you.
Which are you?
I don't know. Guess I'll ask when I see him.
Where'd you go? Metal Gear.
You've really gone all out for me. You shouldn't have.
Anything to make the pretty boy feel special. Like these arrows.
Oh shit. Alright. Krauser, no, don't. Oh shit.
You passed with flying.
You fucking bastard. That's good. Alright, can we fight now? Oh shit.
This is it, soldier.
Oh.
Joker at best. Or loser.
Sweat.
Making mistakes.
I'm not falling for your mind games. You sure you don't need a breather? That arm of yours must be killing you.
Yeah. A new wound is the best way to forget an old one. You've lost your edge.
I pressed E. I fucking.
Hardly put up a fight.
Was that a waste? Were they full health? It looked red to me. Was that because I was blind? Oops. That's whatever.
This is it.
Yeah.
You can't beat me.
You're really doing this? It's not too late.
You and me are two sides of the same coin. Guess that means we'll never see eye to eye.
No.
Made it all this.
Oh shit! Oh, you fucking bastard! Stop it!
Have to say,
From you, I take that as a compliment.
My new air suppression fork arrived yesterday. Oh hell yeah, dude!
Are we done here, Krauser?
That's for your e-bike, right? Is that what that's for?
and again.
Mountain bike? Oh, okay.
You're too soft to do what's necessary. That's the difference between you and me, rookie.
Yo! I repair my knife. I'm a little nervous about that.
Time to finish your training.
Come on, I want to go to bed.
You've lost it completely, Krauser.
Oh god.
So that's your true power? Oh, I'd ask for a refund.
This failure is your savior? Oh, there's a yellow orb over there. Shit. It's funny because I actually think I'm at full health. Or like max possible health. Like maybe one more. Looks like there'll be a little sliver left, but that's about it. Handy. I'm doing it from here because I'm scared. I pressed E! Just too late.
I can't wait to see you ride.
Yeah, he did a lot of damage too. Leave it. Leave it.
Oh, shit.
Training's not.
I'm probably gonna die a bit. Sorry in advance. I haven't played this in quite some time. I don't remember how it goes.
Nah. Time for the teacher to be taught.
School's out.
Bring it, rookie.
Was it both hands in the original? Oh shit. Yeah, that actually fully kill. I guess not. Oh shit. Oh, my knife broke! Fuck! That's bad.
I didn't expect anything less. After all,
What the fuck? How do I dodge that? There was no prompt. Can't do quick times without the quick time input. Oh my god, wait, I can't. I need my knife. Do I have the little brokey one? No. Shit. Wait, Krauser, wait.
Where you're going, there won't be anything left to protect. You'd have known that once.
that's where you're wrong. I didn't know a damn thing. Now I do. You can't deny this power.
Oh god. Oh god. My knife. It's broken.
You're a freak like you.
Oh, alright, that was... That's it. I don't know. I thought it'd be a little longer. Oops.
Do what you have to do.
Blah. Psych! He stabbed me with his fucking... That was nice shot. The knife eye mirror reflection, you know.
That's right.
You missed it. I hurt. It was a little further to the left.
Leon.
That you did, Major. That you did.
And a boy. Alright. Oh, it's already equipped. I'll put this one in my storage. Then... What am I low on? Let's see. Shotgun. Yeah, I'm gonna craft some shotgun ammo. Bonus! Yeah! I knew it. Okay, cool. More shotgun? Bonus! Yeah! Oh yeah, right on, brother. I fall down here and get some more of this shit because I don't think I broke all the boxes, did I? Oh, what is this? Oh, god damn it! There's a boot knife. Anything else here I'm missing? No, that's about it. More boxes, yes. So it. Yay! Now I'm on 15. Okay. 2 chapters left. All right. I can't do this tonight. I can't. Oh, Steve says it. Sorry, Jay. Hey, I gave you till 1. But I'm going to watch this. Oh, there's no cutscene. All right. Get it done, lad. I'll get it done tomorrow. I have work. Easy work. Yeah, I mean, I can't. I still have stuff to do tomorrow. See ya, bitch. See you, bitch. Here, I'm gonna raid out. I'm gonna find you guys a good raider, okay? A raidie. Quit this. Then I'm glad I fixed this one. I have to fix the other scene that I have. The exit. The confession booth. I like that scene. But my love. Look, still get it. All right, who's live? Oh, that's right. I was lurking your boy, and he rated me, so that's why that's there. So Bradtastic is playing Claire Obscure. No, I'm not a human. Sonia Asahina is playing Skyrim. Undi's playing Ghost of Yotai. Not many people are alive. Skin Freak? What's Skin Freak? Oh, he's in the be right back scene. GG. Well, I'm not done, but thank you. Appreciate that. What is... No, I'm not a human. Oh, she's probably ending stream right now. She's been live for 6 hours. Goddamn, bro. Who the fuck is live? Here Trish is playing Cult of Lamb. Scarlet Asha is playing Five Nights at Freddy's. Yeah, we're gonna raid Brad. Brad's good people. Alright, everybody, thank you for hanging out. I should be able to finish this tomorrow. I'll need to see how long the DLC is, the Separate Ways, because I could possibly beat that too, but that might be like a Monday thing. We'll see. I'll look at how long it is. Actually, let me look it up right now. How long to beat Separate Ways 2023? 5 hours? Yeah, I'm gonna do, yeah. I'll finish this and then I'll start Separate Ways tomorrow. And I'll probably finish it Monday. Radtastic Ninja. Tell our favorite New Zealander, New Zealandite, whatever you call them. Hi. He's a cool dude. He does a lot of charity work. And he's really big on games preservation, like actual games preservation, not that bullshit that people claim is. But he'll actually like do like fundraising campaigns for like GOG and stuff. It's pretty cool. So say hi, check him out, give him a follow. He's a good dude, and he's got like that New Zealand has the friendliest accent on earth. I've never heard a threatening New Zealander.